drink coffee and hang out?
Yeah, I always get a little nervous anytime I do anything. I just hide it and fake it. That's been my whole life.
Let's do it. So we're already recording. See?
Okay, cool.
So you're talking about being nervous and you got ambushed. So
that's the best way to do that. Is I like it like that anyway. I like to be completely surprised and shocked, no matter what it is. Just do it, get it over with quick, and get after it.
Well, dude, we've been talking about doing this episode for a long time. I mean, you've been with the show for what, fucking year and a half now or something or more?
I think it's a little under a year and a half. I think our first month with you was December. And I remember because we did the December shows and I was like waiting for the next ad, the second one, and I didn't hear one. I'm like, what, this dude didn't do the ad. Like, what's going on? And I called you like, well, you didn't tell me to. I was like, oh, dude. As far as we're concerned, just keep doing what you're doing, and I'll like say, "Hey, if not, to do it."
Yeah,
and that was December, and I remember that because that was a, your show was kind of a pretty big turning point for our company in specific aspects because it exposed something that we do to an audience that had no idea that existed, and frankly, we didn't really know that it existed, and it's really actually been really cool. I mean, look at what we're doing now. We were just talking like. We've never actually even met in person, but we've spoken a lot. I talk to Greg literally all the time. And I was saying, I have, friends, quote unquote, acquaintances, people live down the street or in the same city that I don't talk to or trust, even as much as I know, like Lappin. I mean, it's crazy how the world, operates like that and all from a connection and in one show. And
well, bro,
that's pretty much it.
I talk about it on the show all the time because social media very often gets hated on as just being this grotesque, vile fucking space full of negativity. And it is, right? But it's also like anything else in life where you kind of get what you're looking for, right? And so if you want to surf the sites that get you triggered and are talking about things that piss you off, like I get that. And then you're just going to feel like shit all the time, right? And or you can actually fucking create fucking good friendships and actually get to know people and build businesses and all kinds of stuff. And over the last 24 months, it's been crazy to see the power of social media.
I was telling you about that. I fought tooth and nail to not be a social media dominant company, to not market through social media because it didn't personally align with a lot of like my belief structures. It's just like anything else in life. Things can be used for good or evil. Doesn't matter what it is. And social media is one of those things. And I just I'm the first person to admit it. I was the person who fought it from, marketing and the teams and stuff. And it happened regardless of me wanting it to happen or not. And now it's probably one of the best things that's ever happened to us.
Yeah. So I guess we should fucking introduce who you are. We got Dustin Baker. What is your official title with BioPro?
Okay. So I own a company called Cervidia NutriScience, which is the parent company to BioProtein Tech, who makes BioPro Plus. So I'm the president of Bioprotein Technology and the creator of BioPro Plus.
Okay. So, I mean, you've listened to the show a lot then. You know how I like to do it. There's no notes. There's no fucking questions. I want to hear, the reason I think this will be a fun episode is because BioPro works, right? Mm-hmm. And I get feedback from listeners all the time. And just by nature of who I am and what I do, a lot of people that listen to this show are people that are about my age, that are still trying to become better versions of themselves, that are trying to fucking stay on the grind, that are doing jujitsu, all that stuff. But then the other aspect of it is the entrepreneurial journey of it. And I think that that's a cool thing to talk about too, because there are a lot of people that are fed up with their bullshit 9-to-5s that are like, fuck man, I want to do something else. And when you see people that actually go out, they step outside of that comfort zone and they do that something else, that's inspiring to people. And a lot of people need to hear and see that to be able to find the motivation to be like, you know what? I could fucking do that, Yeah.
I agree with you 1,000%.
So let's hear it, bro. Where'd you grow up? What degrees do you hold?
Oh yeah, all of them. So, we were just talking, I do a lot of different interviews for different things. None of them are as cool, as fun as this. Don't tell them that. But they always ask the same question is like, hey, how did you get here? And I say the same thing every time. I was like, I never know where to begin. But you want to begin with the, how I grew up? We can do that. I grew up in a what I would consider a lower income single family household. I was raised by my mom. I had 2 siblings. So it was my mom, my grandmother, and my brother and my sister. My father was thousands of miles away. I grew up very separate from him. It is what it is. He had, man, I got so much flack for telling this story the other day for my grandma. I did an interview on an outlet called Medium, if you're on the internet, and they did a piece or whatever. And I told this exact story, and I got a call. They sent it around my family, and I got in a lot of heat. And I was like, listen, I'm not going to not tell the truth. So I didn't really have any relationship with my dad. He was far away. He had his own thing going on. He had his new family he was creating and stuff. So I didn't have any of those role models. It was just me, my siblings, and my mom and my grandma.
And even as a grown ass man now, you're supposed to pretend it was different than that.
Dude, it's, oh man.
You know what I mean?
So for a long time I did though, right? Like you have that for a long time, all the way through whatever you want to call, success, whatever. I always, when I was a younger man, I would still try and like reach out and like appease him, be like, oh, I've never actually shared a lot of this. This is going to be crazy. I've never shared a lot of this stuff like this, but typically I keep it real like VC and businessy, but
we do things a little different.
Yeah, I know. I knew this was going to happen too. And that was fine. I spoke to my wife about it before. She's like, just say the truth, man. Just tell what it is. So I would spend a lot of my earlier career trying to like, hey, thanks for the advice growing up about being a strong worker and a hard worker. And like looking back, it's like, I didn't actually mean any of that because he didn't actually teach me anything, right? It was kind of like, I really wanted that father-like figure relationship that I never had.
Do you think you were also potentially looking for validation?
100%, 1,000%. And I still fight some of that to these days. I have been blessed very much with key mentors right at the right time in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And we still joke about a little bit about that to this day of, that dichotomy in relationship, because it does play a big part in my story or even my entrepreneurship journey. Whose father, whether they're present, not present, like the lack thereof, or they're being there, always plays a huge role in a man's life, whether he's there or not. It's always this huge key piece. And we joke about that a lot, about always like reaching out or trying to find that validation, trying to like, you keep giving them things like, hey, I did this, thanks for this. And then like, you never actually get anything like reciprocal back. And it's like, but it really only took until I had my first kid and it like snapped me out of it. And I almost it was weird. I had my first kid, my only kid so far, and it snapped me out of it. It completely changed my mentality. And now I just don't care.
6 months ago or something,
it was,
right?
Yeah. Yep.
Fuck, bro. It's crazy because like, I think a lot of us, and me included, like a lot of things you do, even in your adult life, are trying to find that validation from your father. And here's the thing, man. Like I had a father that was very present, but he was also very hard on me.
Yeah.
He was fucking rough around the edges. Like he passed in 2015 and my mom has apologized to me like many times since then. She's like, I just really want you to know that like, as a child, I know your dad was too hard on you and it's something that's always bothered me. And I'm like, Mom, I'm okay. Like,
see, for me on the other side, I like almost wish I had that.
Yeah,
I had to teach myself that.
Well, bro, here's the thing, man. And I think I told this story just an episode or two ago, but my dad was super fucking hard on me growing up to the point where I was afraid of him. Like when he would come home from work, it's like, oh fuck, Dad's home, dude. I better fucking make sure everything's, all my I's are dotted, my T's are crossed. And then I turned 18 and bro, come out to the garage. And he shook my hand. He goes, "You're a man now." And he goes, "I had 18 years to mold you, and I'm still here for you if you need guidance and mentorship. But I don't want to be your fucking dad for the rest of your life. I want to be a friend now."
Yeah.
And it shifted in a moment, dude. But the thing is, he was like a hunter and a mechanic, and he was one of those dudes that was, he fucking smoked Camel cigarettes. Dude, and
my dad was
drank
the biggest
whiskey
Camel guy ever, like the C-note Camel things. And he would like, that's the thing is like we'd see all these like C-note, like the middle of money things and be like, my dad would like give us Camel stuff. I thought Camel stuff was so cool because I'd like go home from visitation, have like a Camel lighter at like 8 years old. And my mom would be like, "What are you doing?"
Bro, same.
Like,
that's funny, dude. But
Joe Camel.
I sometimes wonder if I went down this crazy path into special operations community because my dad was always such a hard tough man. And bro, as when I was a little kid, I wasn't into any of that shit, dude. Like, I was probably like too soft for his liking.
Yeah.
Like, he wanted to go hunting and I wanted to like have a fish tank and like raise pets and like, you know, it's just always, we're just different people, right?
Yeah, I get it.
And when I ended up going into the special operations community, man, he was so fucking proud of me. Right. And I was like, oh, dude, like something felt good about that.
Yeah.
I feel like my dad is finally fucking proud of me. And then I look back on the whole fucking journey through my childhood and my teens and then my early 20s when I was deployed all the time. And it's like, maybe I did that for validation. There's a part of me that looks back on that and thinks that I did. But I'm also proud of who I've grown into.
Sure.
So maybe the right formula. That's what I tell my mom. I said, you always apologize for how hard dad was on me, but I'm proud of the man I am today. And that was a direct result of him being hard on me.
So I agree. And I actually wish, like I just said, like probably, 3 minutes ago, I looking back, I wish maybe I had that. Now, I don't wish for anything I didn't have because I would never trade places. I really am I would never trade place. I would not want anything in my life to be different.
That's fucking rad, dude.
And I always remember that. I don't wish for anything different. I love everything that happened to me and has happened for a reason. I am the most grateful. I have a lot to be grateful for, and I truly am. I really am, and I would not trade places for a second. But what I'm saying is, man, I would have killed for that.
Yeah.
I would have killed for that. And I went, maybe we're going to end up talking about this or not, but like I was a complete dirtbag, piece of garbage, like drain on society for most of my 20s.
Oh shit.
And horrible, dude. Like bad. And had I had a different, like a more of a authoritative, even just a presence or like really somebody involved, those things probably would have never happened. Now there was extenuating circumstances that go into why those things happened or some of the things that fed into that. But I was a pretty awful human being.
Well, bro, I've had enough guests on the show over the years that grew up without a father.
Yeah.
And bro, it's a massive void that cannot be filled unless either the father himself or a very powerful male figure fills that void.
So I want to clarify. My dad was technically in my life, but it was no more than like a phone call a month, right? Growing up and like visitation here and there and stuff.
Well,
but
and bro, the reality of it is that's not being present.
I understand. I want to give credit where credit. I don't want to say like,
But the truth is, and now you know this full on, being a parent is more of a full-time job than any fucking job you've ever had in your life.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're working 70 hours a week.
Yeah.
Like there is no off time. And me and my wife have talked about this a lot because for the first time, my oldest turns 14 this month.
I can't imagine my kid being 14,
bro,
but I'm so excited. It's insane.
And my youngest is 7 now. And so they're 7, 11, and 14. So if me and my wife want to go out to dinner, be like, all right, girls, hey, we're going out to dinner. We'll see you in a couple hours. And it's all good. There's no stress to that because they've shown to be responsible enough kids now that we can do that. But I was like, fuck, do you remember when like literally every single minute of the day had to be planned out? It was like, hey, I need to go to the grocery store at this time to pick up steaks. Yep. Where are you going to be? Or do I have to take her with me? Like, and that might not sound like a big deal.
Oh, it's a big deal.
But when every single minute of your day has to be planned and coordinated to make sure that someone's taking care of this human, it's an absolute massive obligation.
I have nothing to add other than I completely agree. It has been a paradigm shift. I will say that my wife is phenomenal. I'm a very lucky individual in the sense of I'm an older father, so I'm 37. My business is in a good spot where I'm able to wake up every day with my family. I'm able to be, with
Bro,
my
that's
kid
so cool.
And do that. And like, man,
I'm actually really glad that you touched on that because that's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. Because since I've stepped away, I was in the government for 20 plus years between military, law enforcement, and contracting, which kept me away from my family. It kept me away from my kids. And not even like, oh, sure, I was deployed a lot. But even when I was home in the profession of law enforcement, I'm working 12-hour shifts.
Yeah.
I'm out of the house before they wake up. And then I would be getting home basically to tuck them into bed and tell them I love them. And at the time, that's just life. I'm just on the grind. I'm doing what I'm doing. This is how I pay my bills. And it didn't feel like a problem necessarily. But the stark contrast that I'm feeling now, it's like I wake up, I get my kids ready for school, I drive them to school, I pick them up from school, and I do like my podcast stuff during the day while they're at school. And then after I pick them up from school, then I go open my gym. And I'm dedicating a substantial amount of time to my family now. And if I wouldn't go back to my previous profession for $1 million a year salary because I didn't realize what I was missing out on. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people are focused on the professional side of life, and man, their kids grow up right underneath them, and they don't even fucking notice what's happening. Because if you're chasing retirement at 60, your fucking kids are gone. So now what? You know? And it's like, I think a lot of people are just in that cycle of wake up, go to work, do what I have to do. And I'm not saying that that's not necessary or that's not honorable, because we're all on whatever fucking path we're on. But I think if you can figure out how to prioritize your family a little more, you don't know how precious it is until you change your habits and change your behaviors and actually start to spend more time with them. And it's fucking powerful, man.
I agree. And I'm very fortunate in the sense of being in the position that I am. I did work for it, so I don't feel like bad about it. Like I worked for it.
Well, bro, just so we're clear, feeling bad about entrepreneurial success, that's something that other people fucking try and put on you.
I know. And I don't want to, I just want to make sure come off I'm terrible. But
I'm going to let everyone in on a little secret. And I'm not there yet. Like I'm fucking rich, right? Yeah. Like I don't feel like I'm rich. But for the first time in my life, I'm not hurting for money.
100%.
Like all my bills are covered. We have excess of what we need. And as soon as your needs are met and then you have some excess, you can just
breathe.
You can relax, what happens bro.
Is, and that's when you're able to take that breath is typically when like real success starts. Because but you have to grind to get to that. I know we're getting like all over the place, but you have to grind to get to that breath moment.
Yes.
And once that breath moment happens, and I know we were just talking about this, but like that's when your success compounds and scales almost without you trying. But you did try because you built it all up into that point. But that's the snowball effect. That is that's what they call the accumulation effect. And when you finally get that breath of fresh air and you've been just grinding your face against the pavement for 10, 15 years, 5 years, which would be great if it was that short. It typically never is. But grinding your face against the pavement or beating it against the wall, and then one day you can breathe. And it's like, then it happens and it's like, not even really doing anything anymore. But you did because you built the machine to move, and now it's moving.
And bro, another part of that I believe to be absolutely factual, and maybe you'll think I'm fucking crazy, right? But like just positive energy, putting positive vibrations into things, manifesting your beliefs through like meditation and putting love into things. What I noticed is when I was living paycheck to paycheck, it kept me in a state of always like, fuck, man, how am I going to fucking make my next car payment? Yeah. Fuck, dude, do we have enough for this month's mortgage? Jenny, don't spend more than this much at the grocery store. Like all of those fucking negative emotions, that starts to consume you and it starts to affect your being, right?
Negativity is a cancer.
That's what I'm saying.
100%. We might disagree on some of the energy stuff and those things, but I believe, I know, and we can agree on this, negativity is a cancer. And when you do things for the right reasons or you do things for good, you will be rewarded in those talents. And I believe that God gives everybody has talents. Everybody has something they're really, really good at. Now,
for sure, bro.
What you do with that, if you don't use those talents and you don't use them for good, they'll be taken from you. Now, I'm not saying that bad things don't happen over the course of time, but in the end, believe me, it pans out negatively against that. But the positivity and doing things for the right reasons and for good will always benefit you in the long haul. It's being able to be capable of having the delayed gratification to wait the long haul. Most people cut it off early because it's not fast enough or it may not be working or whatever that is.
And I think that that's becoming more and more of a problem within society. Because I feel like our parents' generation, like they understood, man, I got to get up and go to work and I got to be on the grind. And even our generation, like that wasn't a problem. Like I knew I had to fucking make ends meet. But I feel like, and maybe it's a byproduct of social media, but it's like people see everybody else winning and they want that instant success. And if you talk to business owners that have like interviewed like kids right out of college and shit, like the expectations that they have going into the workforce.
That's actually what I was going to bring up.
Okay, let's hear it, bro.
No, like, I mean, I was going to bring it up. I was going to bring it because you were talking about it. But the things that I have heard in interviews and because we're a younger company. I mean, we acquired the company in 2018. It had to be completely rebuilt. I mean, this is an existing company we acquired, our parent company acquired. And I was telling you before, companies are only acquired for one of two reasons. One, a venture capitalist firm is picking it up because it's incredibly valuable and they're willing to overpay to basically scale it to a point you could not because you don't have $100 million, right? Or the business is able to be acquired because it's garbage, right? And it has to be refurbished. It has to be cleaned up.
Some aspect of it is failing.
Correct.
And they just want to get rid of it.
Something with it is failing. And you acquire a company that has promise or that you believe in, which is what we did. We really believed in what we were doing and knew that it needed a facelift. It needed to be cleaned up. The processes need to be changed, etc.
Well, when you acquired the company, what exactly was it?
So it was this really small company in Florida, and these two brothers created these formulas, and one of them was like a super biochem. These are two like really like brainy, really guys, and I actually know one of the brothers and still speak to him today because he still does our formulations. Okay, and so. Crazy smart dude, like biochem type guy. And they basically were like, not like they were, they found about this older science that had been used in the late 60s from the Chinese and the Russian Olympic teams. And they wanted to figure out a better way to do it. And they wanted to figure out how to do it in America. And they did. And they're right. They did. Like the basis of what we do now was awesome. I mean, it really is. I mean, and they figured it out and they cleaned it up and they did these things, but not that they'll ever hear this, but they're not the mindset of people. There's different mindsets in business and none of them are wrong. You just need multiple different aspects to make something work, right? You need brains, you need the actual operations, you need the creation of something, and then you need someone who can actually give it messaging and bring it to the public and get it places. And the company just never had it. I mean, it went through its own turmoils from management and some, infighting, which lots of companies go through because there's multiple partners, et cetera, and it leaves it in distress. Yeah. And the formulas just always worked. I actually was a user for them for years. So I just was a normal dude who would pay for this stuff. 100%. Okay. 100% since 2014. So I was just a customer. And I have one business partner now who was my mentor and then became a business partner later. He was a user as well. That's almost kind of how we became friends in 2014. And something he had always said was like, man, somebody just needs to get a hold of this stuff and do it right. From getting it to the rest of the world, which has been our mission. Yeah. And that's what we did. We went in, we saw distress, we asked about it. You've kind of put people in there and you extract information from existing employees and you see what's working, what's not. If there's an opportunity to, we walked in with basically a checkbook and said, okay, we want this. We believe in this. This is what we want to do. Let us do it. And in 3 weeks, we inked a deal and had it off to the races. And now it's, we're 5 years down the road.
And that was 2018.
2018, then? December 1 is technically what's on the contract.
Well, and bro, of
2018.
Something that I've noticed, especially in the jiu-jitsu realm, right? Because the jiu-jitsu is becoming very lucrative for me. And we opened our gym in 2015 and it went through some ups and downs. And, there was a time when I felt like, dude, I'm not a multiple time world champion. So maybe I don't have what it takes to run a successful academy like Joao, who you just met. Yeah. 7-time world champion, right? That's not me. But what I started to realize is dude, okay, the product that you put out, there has to be validity behind it. You have to be authentic. You have to be putting out good, either, content or a good, in your case, a good formula, whatever you're pushing has to have validity to it. But once the validity is there, everything will succeed or fail based on leadership and culture.
I agree with you. And that's what we were talking about, the minimum viable product concept that that we use in our business, which is just start with something that you just have to make sure whatever you do, it doesn't matter if it's a service, if it's a course that you do online, which I know is a big popular thing now, or if it's a product like we sell, it just has to work.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how shiny it is. It doesn't matter how, in fact, I actually recommend if you're launching a new product, it should be dirty. Like it should be rough around the edges. It should not be pretty. Like it should be, if you saw the first version of BioPro, when it was called something else, it was like this big cardboard box. It was ridiculous. I mean, it was not what you get today, but number one, it worked. And from all, the history of our company goes back into the medical space, which we still are in, and we have a great presence in. And that product, when we bought the company and we were kind of rummaging through and cleaning stuff up and getting our hands on everything, I always was gravitated to this really specific product that I never knew existed even as a customer. It just like sat on a shelf. I'm like, for some reason, I was like, no, this is it. And it was hideous, dude. It was a corrugated cardboard casing. And I know, you can see me actually if you're doing the YouTube, but it was this, okay, so BioPro Plus now is like 7.5 inches, right? This thing was like a foot. It was like a foot by 6 inches, and it was corrugated cardboard, meaning you open it up, it looked like cardboard. Right?
Yeah.
And
you could see the space in between.
Yeah, and it had this huge yellow, like ugly label on it. But
was the formulation and the dosage and everything?
No, it was different. Okay. It was less than it is now. So we did some tweaks and stuff like that, which, I'll decide what we, can get into about what's totally different and stuff from an IP standpoint. But the point is the basis of it worked. And no matter what we did, orders kept coming in from all over the country for that product from physicians. So I was like, oh, dude, this, I believe it. But if all these people from across the different parts of the country who have no contact with each other believe in it, and they're medical, they're literally legally allowed to give medical advice and to prescribe products and to do these things, I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. This is legit.
Yeah.
And so that's your MVP. That's your minimum viable product, meaning you have something that works. It works. It's a proven concept. From that point on, you work on shining it up, adding little tweaks as you go, not all at once, one little thing at a time. So you always start with a minimum viable product for a couple of reasons. One, typically it's less expensive to do that. And you never want to, what I would say is called outkick your coverage. You never want to spend more than you have. And that's a huge problem with businesses these days or new companies. They think money's going to fix all their problems. It does in sales, but spending more money than you're bringing in, I promise you will not bode you well. You always want to, that goes back to the delayed gratification thing, which is having the self-discipline to grow slow. And I only know that 2 reasons. One, I have a great business mentor who always teaches that, who's done this and scaled companies to a massive level. And I'm very grateful to have his knowledge. But 2, before he was my business partner, he was a mentor, and he watched me do the opposite with my first huge project. That was a massive fiscal, financial, skull crushing failure.
Dude, are you down to tell that story?
1,000%.
Yeah, let's hear that.
I can tell you, I will have to change the names and some things for legal purposes. Okay, well, but I can get into it. I mean, but it was a, I mean, dude, that was a skull crushing, all of my stuff failure. But it was the best thing that ever happened.
I was just going to say, people say that all the time. And especially it can be business, it can be martial arts. How you hear from UFC fighters all the time when they're fucking knocking everybody out and they feel like they're on top of the world. Like, dude, it's all fucking good.
You don't learn from your wins.
Exactly. And then when you get knocked out and you have to go home and look at yourself in the mirror and be like, what the fuck
what did I do?
happened?
Yeah.
That's where people grow.
Well, here's
the
the difference. There's 2 kinds of people. What did I do wrong? And that person screwed me. Or you know what I mean? And not that those things don't happen, but even if somebody screwed you, you still did something wrong. Like, you got to figure out why you let that happen. I was listening to your show the other day about, I think it was the last one with Tyler. And he was like, the purple belt. And he was like, or you guys were talking about somebody getting either their guard pass or something like that. And somebody was like, how do I fix the guard pass? He's like, why were you in that position in the first place?
Yeah.
And that is the kind of the correlation there of, don't let yourself get there, but you still have to learn. Like you got to get slammed. But that was, we can talk about that, man. That was the best thing that ever happened to me.
So what year? This was your first entrepreneurial
Kind of. This was my first big project.
Okay.
This was my first big influx of cash. This was my first big, it was big all around. It was too big, and that was the problem.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we can, I mean, where do we begin?
Yeah, just tell me what you can tell me.
Yeah, so it was a fitness concept.
Okay.
So a lot of my history and the paradigm shift of my life, we talked about me being a dirtbag for a long time. That change and that paradigm shift was fitness.
Okay.
So there was a, maybe I should start there.
Yeah, let's start there. I want to hear that.
So,
because you said you were in your late 20s.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was, I grew up with a very interesting situation. Not only did I grow up just like a single family household, but my sister had a very rare chromosome disease called trisomy 6. And what that was is, I mean, I think there was only like 13 kids with it on the planet Earth that had been recorded in modern medical history. So we spent our lives.
As it fucking gets.
Yeah. So she was physically, mentally handicapped. I mean, she was only supposed to live like 2 weeks. Then it was 2 months. And then she ended up living for, she died in 95, 96. I was 11. It's a couple days after my 11th birthday. And
how old was she?
She was 12. She would have been 13, okay. I believe, the next year.
Okay, so she was older than you.
Yeah, she was like a year and a half older than me. It's been so long, I struggle with the dates sometimes. But that was November 15th, 1996. So I was 11. She would have been 13, I believe, the next year. She was 12. So anyway, she had we spent my whole life, I was in and out of hospitals. Not for me, for her. And that was just normal to us. So it was, getting carted around to school, being in hospitals, children's hospitals, constant... it's as real as it gets. Like, okay, she's going to die this time, and to fly the whole family in and do this. And like, we did that like 4 or 5 times. I can remember throughout my life. And so those things, like, those things weigh on you. Right.
Yeah, of course.
And so, you go through that, and I learned a lot from that though. But that was her life. And then I had an older brother, and he and I were super close. He was my best friend. He was like, that was my father figure, if you want to put like it. He was actually studying to be a police officer. He graduated #1 in his police academy in Michigan. And so he wanted to be a cop. And then when I was, I think I was 23. It was 2007, 2008. He died in a motorcycle accident. So he was riding his bike home from work. Things go wrong, hit a wall, done. So that was
How old was he?
Oh man, he would have been, I think he was, I was just talking to my wife about this because like things happen. It's so long ago. I believe he was like 28.
Fuck,
no, he's 27.
27?
Yeah, because I was 23. He had already turned 27. I would have turned 24 that year, I believe. And that was July 20. So July 20th was the day that he passed. So then I lost him. And the reason why I bring those up is for no other reason other than like, it was that in my 20s of like, I became this massive douche because it was like the woe is me, fucking drinking and drugs and like...
Yeah, but bro, I mean, you lost both your siblings.
Doesn't matter. Like, I know, and I appreciate that.
No, you can say like, it doesn't matter as a massive douche, but like when you're going through massive amounts of trauma and I haven't lost a sibling.
Yeah.
But I can attribute, or I can look at like my friends that were killed in combat and the way that it affects some people. We're not conditioned to deal with that kind of stuff very well, especially in our society and our culture.
I think in our culture, I don't think we're prepared for that stuff. You always kind of get the feeling like everyone's going to live forever and everybody, you know what I'm saying? Like,
and the American culture has a very weird, the way that we deal with death is very weird. What
do you mean?
Like someone dies, my dad died, for instance. He was out in his garage and these cars pull up. And these guys get out of the car that I've never fucking seen before. I don't know them. And they put him on a gurney and they pull a sheet over him and then they load him up and they drive away, Yeah. And it's kind of like, we're very out of touch with it, I feel like. Whereas a lot of cultures are very like, man, they celebrate your life and death is just part of that natural cycle, I feel like exactly what you said. Most Americans want to believe almost like on a subconscious level, like we're all going to be here forever.
Yeah. Okay? And it's like, yeah, they feed you with a lot of, fun stuff and everything like that. And that's just, it is what it is. But
my point of bringing that up is for you to go down take a toxic turn I'm not saying it's right, but it's not surprising. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, but I'm also the type of guy that I don't believe in excuses, and I don't believe in. I'm the first person to also stand up to other people who are in that kind of victim mentality and be like, "Listen, dude, I'm not special. You're not special." People have their entire families brutally. I mean, you've been overseas, and I think that's what misses with a lot of Americans as well. Is like, how many people do you really know that have traveled the world or seen other cultures? Because we're so enveloped in our culture, and it's like, especially what's going on with. Dude, I do not want to get on the political spectrum because I do my best to stay out of it because I don't like either side, frankly.
Bro,
and
welcome to the team. I think everybody's sick of both sides.
I mean, it's they're not both sides; they're the same side, but it's you just give it a different team color. You're watching professional wrestling, but Americans don't ever really go overseas. They don't see things that are crazy. Like, I mean, go to Brazil, go to some of these places, go to the Middle East. Like, America is like this small little microcosm of protection and comfort where you go over to other countries.
I say it all the time. It's a fucking fairy tale.
It's a fairy tale
that we've been able to bring to reality, but that doesn't mean that it's fucking permanent.
Don't even get it. I'll get real. I mean, very different on that, or agreeable, but down a different hole. But I would say to people, I'm like, I appreciate your sympathy and your empathy, and I know that's what you want to say and stuff like that. I don't feel special. I'm the first guy to go to the next guy and be like, okay, I understand bad things happen to you. They happen to everybody bad. And what I say is, okay, I did lose 2 siblings, and maybe you haven't, but you've experienced different things in your life that probably affected you the exact same. And I'm not just saying this because you're a veteran. I would say this to anybody because it's relative to what your experience of suffering or pain is.
Of course. Yeah.
That's not fair to separate. You've lost friends in war and suicide.
Yeah.
I've lost, certain siblings or other things. Who knows? I don't even know Joelle. Like, I don't know what Joelle's lost, but everybody has some sort of emotional distress, suffering, and pain. And that's relative to who the human being is, regardless of what it was specifically.
For sure. So I can agree with that.
Yeah. So when people say that, and I appreciate that, I don't feel special. And I don't think, anybody should. It's a matter and a part of life. But and I'm not making it, what I'm saying is I'm not making excuses for who I became.
Well, bro,
in that process.
I actually really like that though, because one thing that our culture has done, especially I would say over the last 5 to 7 years, is like celebrated victim mentality. And it's like, you're celebrating people that are just being weak, right? Like if you're purposefully being a weak person and poor me and you don't know what it's like and all that stuff, like, you're going to remain a diminished version of yourself until you can figure out how to fight through it and become fucking successful.
I know you'll like this, but Bedros Keuilian, and I'm not a big like self-help guy and like scroll the internet for stuff, but he's the founder and CEO of Fit Body Bootcamp, and now he has a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, he sent me some fuel hunt shirts.
Okay.
Back when my story went viral.
Yeah, I went and actually saw him speak and went to his conference. Like, when we're getting into the story now of where I was going, but I actually, before I started that business, I went to one of his conferences for fitness entrepreneurship and branding and stuff like that. And he has a quote. He's like, everybody has a story. Everybody has a story of why they're the victim and why they're this or why they're that. And I'm butchering his quote. So if by somehow he listens to this, which he might very well, I apologize. But I know you'll know what it means. And it's everybody has a story that they tell themselves that limits them from why they are not who they should be or why they are not who they want to become.
Bro.
And that's
people let their trauma define them.
They make it their personality.
Yeah.
And I'll be very honest with you. I never bring this stuff up on shows. I think I brought up, and I was telling you that one interview I just did, a couple weeks ago in that magazine. That is the first time, and this is the second time I've ever brought those things up because I never want to be, and I never brought them up in my life. I didn't tell them to business mentors, investors. Most people probably still don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I never wanted my life to be defined like that because my parents defined their lives by that, and they still do.
Yeah.
They live, their personality is the children that they've lost. And I can't imagine losing my daughter. And I will never take that away from them because that is something now that I have a child. I can't even imagine.
But at the same time,
you can't make it your personality.
Yeah.
You can't live your life like that. And if anybody's listening, like, man.
Well, that's why I think it's good to talk about these things though, because you're not talking about these things from a place like woe's me. You're talking about a place like I went through some really hard shit, but I figured out how to fucking keep driving on, Yeah. And it may have been a bump in the road. And like you said, you became a person that you weren't proud of for a while, but fuck, man, you've reached a point where you're like, okay, it's time to level up.
And again, I wouldn't change anything that happened to me.
Yeah.
But I went through, so after my brother passed, I mean, I was always kind of a partier, and I was the crazy guy, like in the Friends. I would do crazy stuff and get into like party fights and cause problems.
We probably could have hung out in that 20s.
Dude,
Either that or
you might not have been allowed into the military after you hung out with me, dude. Like, I like reverted back to that. Well, I never really stopped it during those times, but it went from partying to dangerous. And it went from, partying and drinking to drinking all the time, and then pills, and like, that was my life for like a year and a half, like 2 years was I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, but like just pills and booze, man.
Yeah.
Pills, booze, and ripping cigs. That was my existence. And I think I was like 23, 24, 25. And the reason why I even say that now is because when I finally like something had to shift, right? And that's actually when I moved away from where I was at. And I had a friend, I do tell this story all the time. And I hope like I send him stuff, and I'll send him like interviews that I do. I'm like, hey, minute 3:30, like I mentioned, because I want people to know also, like when you have a huge impact on somebody, like that person should know, because that's a big part of, that could be a big part of somebody's life. I can't say that I have all those moments and people reach out to me like, oh man, you changed it, because I don't. But I can't imagine how good that would feel, for somebody to hear that. So I always call that out. And I had a buddy named Mike, who Mike's a firefighter now in Michigan. And he, saw this downward spiral, and he was always a good buddy for me and knew me all the way through. And one day he was just like, dude, and I mean, I'm skipping over so much, but he was like, one day he's like, man, why don't you like cut that out? Why don't you just come to the gym with me one day? And I had like never worked. I think I worked out maybe once a day in my life. I was like just like a skinny like punk rock emo kid, like black and red mohawk, like wore like skinny jeans and like a black dress shirt. I was convinced I was like a rock star that I was not. I mean, now looking back, I mean, ridiculous. But he was just like, man, you got to cut this out. You got to like, why don't you just come with me? But he did it in a way where it wasn't like you're an idiot, like cut like. You know what I'm saying? It was like, hey, why don't you just come with me? Why don't you just like, try this out?
Showing you in your path.
Changed my life forever. And that defining moment, I'm not saying there weren't hiccups while that process was happening.
Yeah.
But that was actually like the really defining moment that changed my life forever. Because it was those like learning about fitness and having something that gave me purpose. Because I didn't have any purpose. I mean, I was unemployed. I didn't have a driver's license. I think at that point I had a DUI. Like I had a DUI pending or something like that. Like I was a problem, dude. I was a real problem. I got arrested for drugs. Like I was a real problem. And that gave me I don't think I've ever said that out loud or in public, like online, but it doesn't matter at this point. I really don't care.
Bro, the thing is like people like hearing real because most people have had addiction problems in their life. At some point, most people have had depression problems in their life at some point.
It's just nice to be in a place where now I just don't care.
Yeah. And bro, and like, it's good to be in a place that you don't care, but also to fucking just be received. Like Joao always says, real knows real, right? Yep. People hear that and they're like, fuck man, like that was me, or I was there, or maybe there's people here right now.
They're
it's like,
there right now.
I'm there right now, And that's one of the things that I get out of this podcast all the time is people are like, fuck man, like, you and your guests, the way that you talk about shit is so real and down to earth and raw. It's like, it touches people. Because, bro, the whole fucking world's full of fake bullshit. So when people hear real shit, man, that's what's going to have impact on them.
I hear you. And being the guy that like has hid this, not like hidden it, but I mean, I don't come out like blaze and like, oh, I grew up in I had a rough time and, people, lost people and I've been a dirtbag and stuff. I don't like blaze the guns like this when you're dealing with the bank. You know what I'm saying? So, but anywho, so, he gave me that. And then somehow that just like clicked in me. And looking back now, what I realize is it gave me purpose and I had zero purpose.
Do you remember what you did that day in the gym?
I do. It was in a basement gym in Michigan, like a home gym.
Yep.
And it was just a bench and stuff. And I think we did like chest and arms. Okay. And that was like it. I think I tried running on the treadmill for a little bit too, because I could run.
Yeah.
But I was still blazing cigs back then too. So I was like, but I could run. I will tell you, dude, I ran, I was a smoker for a while, like in my 20s and stuff. I ran a 518 mile as a full-blown pack-a-day smoker.
That's fucking ridiculous.
In downtown, dude. Like in traffic. I could run, dude, and I had lungs. That was my thing. I still find that hilarious. But
bro, I've never broke a 6-minute mile.
Dude, that was like my
that
thing.
was one of my things that I wanted to do for so long, dude. And I could get very like low sixes, and I never broke it though. And I was like, motherfucker, dude.
I'm telling you that, and I will get into my mentor because he would tell me this too. He was an ex like Olympic decathlete triathlon guy, and so he could break a 5 in his like prime. And I will agree because he would always say a 5-minute mile is probably the most painful thing you will ever do.
Yeah,
because it's from the second you start, it's go.
Yeah,
and there is no slowing down. In fact, the back end you have to speed up.
So one of my buddies, this is kind of a tangent, but this is what the show is about.
100%.
We just go on tangents. And he was a friend of Joel's too. His name was Seth Fairwell. And he ended up passing a couple years ago, but he was a good friend of mine. And weighing 230, he ran a 436 mile.
I can't imagine what breaking 5, let alone 5'10" or anything like would
436.
You have to move so fast.
He was a super athlete, and he could clean and jerk 330 pounds. So like, and I told him he was a Navy SEAL, right? That's what he wanted.
Yeah.
But he was such a super athlete that he could have went anywhere. Like,
I mean, if you're cleaning 350 and running a sub 5 mile, you basically can do anything.
No, I said, like, look at the CrossFit. Like, let's pull up fucking Rich Froning's fucking times and lifts and shit. It is the smallest percentage of human beings who can break 5 minutes. I said, bro, you could be any of these, you know? But what he told me, he goes, dude, my formula for running, he goes, it doesn't matter if you're a marathon runner or you're a mile runner. He goes, I get whatever time that I want, right? So if I want a 430 mile, I divide a mile up into 6 segments.
That's called race modeling.
Okay.
So that's a training style of how you train. That's called race modeling. So when guys are running, and I don't mean to interrupt.
No, interrupt.
When guys are training track guys or they're running their 800s or whatever, that's how you train for those distances. You break up your miles into certain specific time and distances. You never do the full distance because you break down your body too much.
Yeah.
So you break it into little segments, and then you do specific percentages of output per modeling with specific rest built in. Now remember that this is way smarter than I am, but that's the entire point. That's how you build that. And then when you go, like when it's time to go, then you turn it on and you do the whole distance.
And so I'll tell you what he told me he would do. He's like, if I want to hold a 436 mile, each of the 6 segments would have to be held at a 430 pace, right?
Yeah, they're 430. Yeah, they're splits.
And he goes, so then I would take the amount of rest that I would need in order to be able to run the next segment at 430. And you'd have to play with that a little bit, right? Because if you didn't take enough rest, you'd be too tired. If you took too long, maybe
it's over.
Yeah, it was over, right? And so he goes, and then when I got that formula dialed in, then I started to shorten the rest periods. And then one day, like you said, you go out and you blast it all at once, dude. And I was like, fuck, man.
So again, remember, fitness is a math equation.
Yes.
If you're doing competitive fitness, it's a math equation. And if you're a CrossFitter out here, this is the best tool I will ever give you. Is if you learn what you're physically capable of, or, if you have a specific time or a specific score, or you're running a race, you break it into those splits and you time those out. You can build every workout into a math equation, and you can figure out exactly if you know yourself as an athlete really well. And this is what, makes phenomenal athletes phenomenal athletes. This is what makes professional football players, among other things. I don't want to get any emails because you forgot this, but it's knowing what
anyone that wants to send you an email can fuck themselves. How's that?
Yeah. But it's knowing, like, so in football, you play your position, and you play your position the best that you are. And it's knowing what you're capable of and what you deliver to that team and sticking with that, right?
Yeah.
That's what you do. You don't have an inside linebacker playing quarterback, right? They play their specific position. So if you're building a workout,
I barely know what you're talking about because I'm not a football guy, but I'm kind of following you.
We have a whole nother funny story than that. I don't watch football. I don't like football. My dad played, I think, like minor league football in like the 70s, like smoking cigs on the sidelines, like all that kind of stuff. I did do I have some career time spent in professional football and athletics is how I know a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
But I have never taken a snap. Like I've never taken a snap.
Yeah.
That's not my thing. The fact that I even ended up in professional athletics just blew my mind as it was. Like I've been to the NFL combine, like all this stuff. Guy that hates football. But like, anywho, you know what you're really good at and you're able to know that. You're able to know what your max output is. So if you're building like a workout or you're a racer, you're a CrossFitter, and you're trying to build out how to beat a specific score or how to hit a certain score, like if you're going to do it, they're doing that, like that CrossFit Open now, you know what your score's got to be. So if you break that into certain segments and you know exactly how long it takes you to do each movement while maintaining your pace, you can literally build that into a math equation and know exactly how long a workout will take you. And then if it's not a winning time, you have to you got to tweak, you got to do a little tweaks. And those are, especially in like CrossFit, that is your phenomenal athletes. That's why those guys can do those workouts. And believe me, they're tanked on the inside. They just know to keep that inside and not let their competition know that they're blown.
I say it to my team all the time. Hey, if you're tired, pretend you're not.
Just don't. Just don't.
Pretend you're not.
Yeah, I had a coach one time who would be like, I don't care. Like, I know you're dying inside, but the most important thing you can do right now, other than like hit this workout, is don't let him know you're dying. Like he has to look at you in the face and see you're completely calm.
And that's in jiu-jitsu.
That's the same with business.
In jiu-jitsu, that's more important than anywhere because you're not just battling yourself like you are in CrossFit. Like there's another human being that if he senses weakness, it empowers that person, right? And so anytime I'm rolling, like I try and keep my mouth closed. I try and nasal breathe while I'm rolling because if I start, bro,
the second
your
you start mouth breathing
is fucking showing your opponent that you're fucking feeling weak.
It's the art of war, right? You force your enemy into a mistake. That's the same with business. I mean, that's the same for everything. Business negotiations, workouts, jiu-jitsu.
You want to know what's interesting is you do that long enough. I get to the point now where like, I don't really feel fatigue in the middle of a round, but when the bell rings and then I'm allowed to relax, bro, it hits me like a train.
Really?
Yeah. And it's like, oh, I didn't realize I was working this hard, you know? But
I find the best people that survive or do really well in things like jiu-jitsu or MMA or Muay Thai or CrossFit are the guys that it's not necessarily physical strength or output. It's the guy that can sit in the deepest, darkest hole in pure pain and then thrive there. Because a lot of the guys are crazy strong. They're very skilled. But the second the pain starts to increase, they break. As compared to somebody who is comfortable being or at home, which is the sickest. Like if you can be at home or that's where you belong is in pain, you'll win.
Bro, and isn't that where we're all trying to get to? Like, I work out with my wife and Angela, and girls are tougher than men when it comes to the darkness, right? And like they program these fucking crazy workouts that are just taking your fucking soul, dude. And then you're having that debate in your mind right now. It's like, man, everything inside my body is telling me to quit, but I can't quit because I'm working out with two chicks that are over there killing it.
And you post everything, so you'll be in big trouble.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, no, you're absolutely right. You look at the top, and the only sport I follow is like combat sports, so jiu-jitsu and MMA. So those are the guys I'm familiar with. But you look at like Cain Velasquez, for instance. Are you familiar with Cain Velasquez?
I've heard the name,
bro. So he was a heavyweight champion for a long time, and you could not break him. Yeah. Period. Like he had a will that was just indomitable, and it was fucking crazy to watch a heavyweight keep a pace like Frankie Edgar would, and it would just break people's spirits, dude. But he would do workouts that was like 30-minute workouts, max effort. Assault bike for a minute, and then like
it doesn't matter what the movement is you're about to say next. Assault bike for a minute, and then anything. Standing. The workout is assault bike for a minute, and then stand. It would still be the worst. Like, that was the worst standing ever.
And like I mean, Joao knows because like our teammates, Marcus and stuff, would go up and like actually work out with him and do these rounds with him and shit. And it's like, bro, like this fucking dude is something else, you know?
Yeah, but if you train, I mean, this is like we're talking in an echo chamber sometimes, but when you train with guys like that, like they have a weird ability to bring something out within you,
of course,
you know, that makes you a better, you know,
bro. That's
athlete.
What makes teams so fucking important.
1000%.
Like martial arts competition, you're out there alone, right? But really, the team is fucking super important because it fucking, that process is what brings you to that point, you know? Fuck, I love going off on all these tangents, dude.
I know, dude.
But, so it was fitness initially then that just fucking...
Yeah, it was this little turn and like a snowball effect because then it really took off.
You say you went from doing chest and tries in someone's basement to being at the fucking NFL Columbine. Did I say that right?
Yeah, NFL
Combine.
Columbine is very different. Okay.
That lets you know.
That is a very different. But yeah, so I wasn't running the combine, dude. I was just there. I was a guest, but yeah, so the fitness thing, it just spoke to me. And I just think it's because I had nothing else.
Yeah.
I had nothing else. I had nothing else to do. I was unemployed, couldn't hold a job, I think, at that point. You know, I wasn't doing anything. And I didn't have any, remember, like at this point, I had no support. I had no like I had no role models, period.
Yeah.
I had no business mentors. I had no nothing. And looking back now, I never did even up to that point. Like I didn't have anything. Like the only male in my life other than my dad, you know, who was away, was like my mom's boyfriend at the time, was like a massive abusive alcoholic. And like, that was part of the reason why I left. Like he put his hands on me one time, I was like 16, I think. And like, it was aggressive. And that was an uncomfortable situation to be at home, like from a single mom and have this dude.
Of course, bro.
And I was like short and fat back then. I was 5, dude, I'm serious. I got off the plane one time. I was so short and fat. I got off the plane one time. When my dad was picking me up from the airport, he didn't recognize me. I was 5'3", like 225. Like, it was insane. So, being like a kid, you know,
and then you went into a fucking skinny jean emo kid with a mohawk.
I mean,
you've done it all, bro.
I don't like, I think that's actually like a perfect evolution. I think is exactly how all of those things happen.
Yeah.
But so that's why I left. I left because of that. And I was, I'm going to go like stay with my dad and I'm going to go like be a man. And that never happened. Like that never, like literally none of that ever happened. So it was like, okay, which again led me into this stuff. So I never had the mentors. I never had these things. And so just having that simple like something to have, something to grab onto, and almost something where like somehow I was almost like accepted into that. And even though it was just like a few guys, but that was someone bringing me into their world. And
bro, it's fucking powerful, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I don't diminish that at all. Because one thing you said, oh, I didn't have anything else. And it's like, bro, you have that.
Yeah.
You know, and I see that, me and Joel see that all the time with jujitsu. People that don't have a tribe of people or don't have a mission or don't have something to strive for.
Sure.
And they walk through your doors and they feel like, oh, fuck, man. I've had people tell me, this has been happening more lately than ever, where people will do one practice and be like, fuck, man, this was the place I was looking for, you know, because once you find your thing, you fucking know it, dude.
Yeah.
You know?
And a lot of times I don't actually think it's the thing. I think it's the people and like the experience.
Of course.
So with jujitsu, and I listen to your one of the very few shows I actually listen to. When I do,
just making sure that my ad read for BioPro Plus is on par.
I will tell you. I mean, we're a company. We market. We advertise. We have to, right?
Yeah.
You are I hate saying this because I don't like to blow anybody's ego up too much. You are the best ad reader of any, and I will say this across like multiple boards of different brands, different products. Like, you read the best ads of anybody I've ever met.
You know why? Because I don't fucking read anything.
I know, you don't read anything. It's natural. I know. If only advertising companies and other guys who maybe own businesses or dealing with ad companies and stuff like that, if only they could grasp that and stop following like I hope my team isn't listening.
Well, bro,
if they could grasp that and just be like, it is a constant struggle with advertising and advertisers to like, I have to stress, even with our athletes, like the athletes you see on Instagram, I literally tell people, because I'm the guy doing the Instagram. Like I farmed it out. I hired people to do it. It was always a disaster. So I'm like, oh, you want something done right, you got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
So I did it. And I was telling you before, like I fought social media with every inch of my being.
Yeah.
And I handle like, it's me. Like, Joao, I don't even know if Joao knows this. Like, if he's talking to somebody on Instagram, like, about product, it's me, dude. So I always tell new guys that either reach out to us and like want to try the product, or athletes, or when we clearly work with athletes, like no one's hiding that.
Yeah.
I make it a non-negotiable that we do no hard sales here. Like, you are not a salesperson for this company. I do not want you. You need to use like, oh, I'll start promoting. I'm like, no, you need to use the product first, and you need to be 1,000% authentic with it, because if you don't, you're going to ruin me, dude.
Yeah.
And if only, I know we're talking about it, but I am so blatantly like, if you don't believe in it, if you don't use it, and I check in, I have a way of doing it. But if I don't believe you use it, you know what? We're not working together, because you'll ruin me. You'll ruin me. So like, we don't do that.
I think that's super important, man. And that's something that I've done out of the gates. Because I've had sponsorships reach out to me that are like, hey, can we buy a couple episodes? It's like, I've never used your product.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Can you buy a couple episodes? Because this is the truth. Like, sure, my show, and I don't know what is success or what's not success in the podcasting industry.
Yeah.
This is my first time doing this, but I feel like it's working out pretty well for me.
Don't change what you're doing.
And so, so that's exactly it. It's like, if it were to get out that, dude, Greg did an ad read for this company and he never even fucking used that product. Everything that I've created, everything that I stand for, everything that I preach, everything that my show stands for,
everything you stand for
is
because how you do something is how you do everything.
And it's like, I'm not going to risk everything that I built because you want to pay me $450 to read an ad. What the fuck are we talking about, dude? Joao needs to walk in front of the camera. Go ahead, bro. It's all good.
I forget we're even on camera, dude.
Yeah. And like I said before we started, YouTube shadow bans me off and on, right? Oh, you talked about COVID, so your account shut down for a week or whatever. I think that might be why my YouTube has never taken off. Or maybe people just hate watching my fucking show.
I don't know.
Either way.
I was just telling you, man, YouTube is like the new thing for us that we were just investing in now. Given the circumstances, I have no advice, good, bad, or indifferent for you. I'll let you know how it goes.
So yeah, when I started trying BioPro, and I was like, oh fuck, dude, this shit is not something that's up for debate. Is this a placebo? Is this fucking real? Like, I know for a fact that my body feels better, and I talk about it on my ads all the time. One of the biggest things that BioPro has done for me is, and as you know, because you're on the jiu-jitsu journey now, man, jiu-jitsu beats the shit out of you.
Yeah.
And once I started getting on BioPro, I would heal from injuries faster, and then I would just overall be less prone to injury. And that's why I was like, dude, this is a fucking game changer. I
mean, it does work. Like, that's the thing is, like, I used it through my, athletic career or lack thereof. That's how I even came here. That's why we're sitting here right now.
Bro, I've had people write me and be like, bro, I know you're sponsored by them and shit, but give me the truth. Do you really like this shit? And when I get those emails, I'm like, why the fuck do you listen to my show? Right? If you think I'm lying to you in the beginning of my show with the companies that I'm partnered with, why the fuck are you listening to the show?
Because, well, it has nothing, man, you can't take it like that. It has to do with the fact that we're even sitting here right now, and you and I are clearly of similar mentalities. It's the rest of the world. So 99% of experiences for everybody, all over the world, not even just in this country, is delusion. It's fake. It's not real. So you can't blame anybody for doing that, because they're flooded with trash. With fake trash, bullshit, fake trash. Like,
you say whatever the fuck you want on this show.
I know.
I've had people be like, one of my buddies. Well, he became a buddy by doing my show. His name's Jay Morrison. He's a Force Recon Marine. In the first minute of the show, he's dropping an F-bomb, and then he's just like, bro, is that okay?
No, I know that it's a me thing, but people are inundated with so much noise and so much. I mean, everything is fake.
Everything's fake, bro.
Everything is fake. And I'm not just talking about okay, number one, we haven't really, my career is crazy, but I did actually, we haven't gotten into this. We go all over the place, but I spent a lot of time doing like print and acting and stuff like that. So that was like one of my main careers in my 20s. That's kind of like a lot of part of this journey in Miami and Orlando and stuff. Everything you see is fake, just so you know. Like everything is fake. So TV, music, everything, right? 99.99%. So when someone reaches out to you like that and is like, you can't blame them because they know 99% of the world's fake, dude.
No, you're right.
And they don't know you. So like, it sucks that it's
I'm
like
authentic.
This. I know, dude. So, It sucks that the world is like that, but you know, I don't know why I'm defending this guy so much.
Yeah,
but
fuck that guy, dude.
If you're listening, follow me on Instagram.
That's right, dude. So you let's go into the business that you fucking built and that was a massive failure.
Massive failure. Okay, so fitness thing. Yeah, we get into fitness. I ended up this is 2012, 2013. And then this was in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And then I got pulled into, he brought me into this, like, he's like, man, I found this new gym. It's this new thing. It's going on. It's CrossFit Olympic lifting. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So like, and I didn't know anything like that. I was, you know, working on a normal gym and stuff like that. But, you know, and that was like still, it was like right before it was getting into its heyday and stuff. And then he brings me in there. And, you know, I liked it even more because it gave me like more, it just continued my purpose, right?
Yeah.
But regardless of the fitness aspect, there was a gentleman there who owned the gym. Now, at that point, I was working and stuff like that because I had started to clean my life up a little bit. Not entirely. I was still doing stupid stuff. But I at least could hold a job at this point. And I had personally really devoted all of my time to everything I could read about nutrition, everything I could read about fitness. I'm the type of guy to a fault. Like my wife is like, you got to cool it sometimes. When I find something that I like,
you just want to fuck
my whole life, dude.
Yeah.
And I will spend every second learning everything I can about it for good or bad. Like if it's something I disagree with, I'll do the same thing, dude. I will figure it out. And that's what it did for me. So I was spending every waking hour when I wasn't working, whatever, learning everything I could about fitness and nutrition. So I ended up at this place in Grand Rapids. And as I mentioned, the gentleman who owned the gym was an ex-Olympian. Like he trained for, I think, Beijing and Atlanta or something like that. And he was a decathlete. So he all of the stuff. And I lost my job. I got in like a big argument with like my boss at the time. And, you know, I was a big tough guy. So, you know, big scene, walked out, left my job. In the gym, you know, like just like jujitsu, it ain't Planet Fitness, dude, because you're not getting Planet Fitness. It's not $9.90 a month. You're paying for what you get. Yeah. There's a value there, right? And I couldn't afford my membership. And I didn't know the guy. And I just went up to him and I was like, hey man, I know you don't know me, but I can't pay you. I can't pay you, dude. I can't afford the membership, but here's what I will do. If you just let me work out, I'll do anything you tell me to. I'll take out your garbage. I will, you know, clean your equipment. You tell me. I'll sweep the floors. I'll clean the mats. I'll do whatever it is. And he's like, okay, that sounds cool. And I did. And that was the only thing that ever got me out of bed, was to show up at this guy's gym and mop his floors. And I never got out of bed before like noon because I was a night guy. Like I was a nightclub guy and like I was a bartender for like in my teens and 20s and stuff, like late teens and stuff. So like getting out of bed before noon, are you insane? I was at this dude's gym at 7 a.m. for free, like working for free. And like that's when like the wheels really started turning. And when I started doing that and continued to do that, he started teaching me stuff. So then he started teaching me to start, other than cleaning things, how to fix equipment, how to build equipment. So this guy was like an engineer of mine and he would like build stuff. Before air bikes existed, like assault bikes, they were Airdynes. And this is crazy. I never thought I just connected
the gold ones.
Yeah. And I just connected the pieces for the first time. I learned how to weld by welding wheels onto Airdynes and fixing Airdynes and attaching and building monitors to monitor Airdynes, but by a different distance calculation so they could be programmed into workouts way before assault bikes.
Got it. Okay.
And so like, I just realized that right now. Like I learned how to weld, like welding wheels onto old Airdynes. Like that was the thing he was teaching me. Remember, I have no dad in my life teaching me anything. So this guy's taking this like loser and like, I'm learning like how to weld and build stuff. And it was like, I loved it.
Yeah, it's rewarding. Dude.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved welding. I can't even, like, it was insane for like this, you know, emo kid, right? Like I love throwing the mask on.
Were you the fat emo kid or the skinny emo kid?
No, super skinny. Okay. No, I grew like later on in high school, I grew super fast.
Dude,
and then got really skinny. But yeah, thanks for calling me skinny. Now I'm doing everything I can to put on weight, but not really. But anywho, I would be like welding air bikes and building stuff, or like building plyo boxes, cleaning barbells, like scrubbing them and stuff. And I loved it. Like I loved it. This is a kid that would never touch manual labor, dude.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And I did it for free. And then he paid me $500 one month, or $250, I think was the first month. And the second I got $1, I was like,
oh fuck,
I can do this forever. I can make money at this, dude. And that's what I did. And I lived on like $500 a month, and I slept in basements, and I cleaned toilets, and I literally and took out garbage and welded air bikes and like built plyo boxes. And then my like wheels started turning, and I wanted to work with him on, I started learning about marketing and building marketing plans, because it was just a singular gym. I'm like, let's scale this. Like we can make this a unit thing. Like I wanted to work for this guy for the rest of my life. Right. So, cause I believed in him. He was the first person I think really believed in me, other than like my mom.
Yeah.
Or my grandma.
Which is fucking powerful, dude.
Yeah. And like, I didn't realize this stuff until like a couple years ago.
Yeah, of course.
And I still like, we have zero relationship now, other than like, I'll call him once a year and just be like, hey Joe, I just hope you're doing well. And then like we talk for like 5 seconds, and that's fine though. Like that's it. But just to let him know, like, if it wasn't for him and then my buddy before that, we would not be sitting here.
Yeah, where the fuck would you be, right?
Probably in jail. I'd be dead or in jail.
Weird to think
I would
about,
absolutely be dead, actually, I think.
And I think about that shit too. It's like one little moment, one little interaction that at the time may have just seemed like just complete happen chance, you know? And it's like, boom, so now it turned into this.
I know you're going to agree with me, and we might differ on belief systems, but...
Does everything happen for a reason?
I do.
Is that what you're going to ask?
No, okay. No, I don't believe... I do believe that there's no such thing as coincidences. However, I believe everyone is given the equivalent amount of opportunity. I believe successful individuals, the only difference is they identify the opportunity and they execute.
Yeah.
Where people who complain and nothing ever happens and I never caught my break, bullshit. You absolutely had your break. You saw your break and you didn't execute. You didn't pull the trigger. You didn't do that. And I've seen that repeatedly through people constantly.
As have I, dude. And I don't know if I'd feel comfortable saying everybody has the same opportunity.
Not the same. Everybody's given opportunities.
Okay. Yeah.
Everybody has different talents that are used for different things.
Yep.
Everyone is given a life-changing opportunity repeatedly.
And I think the biggest thing about opportunity is you have to jump at it.
You have to execute.
And you have to fucking actually take that opportunity.
You got to grow a set, dude. You got to grow a set and do it. Life, fortune favors the bold.
For sure, bro.
And you got to jump, man. You got to jump. And sometimes you got to jump when the chute ain't even in the backpack or you don't have it on. You know what I mean? And you got to figure out how to put it together on the way down.
Like Keanu Reeves at the end of Point Break?
Dude, Point Break. I mean, Patrick Swayze movies you can pretty much apply a Patrick Swayze movie to any point in your life and it'll get you through.
Yeah.
I'm a big Roadhouse guy. I mean, there's nothing better than, a male ballerina doing Kung Fu shirtless Patrick Swayze, like on the side of the river. Like when I was 30 years old, my good friend at the time had a surprise birthday party for me, and he took the photo of Dalton Voss, who is Patrick Swayze's character, like shirtless doing the kung fu, and superimposed my face on it, and like as the cake. Still the best cake to this day I have ever seen. But
dude, I honestly think, I mean, it's like you said, fortune favors the bold. I think we're at a time in our society, the American culture, where people are more fearful than they've ever been. And I think that that's one of the biggest problems that we're finding is because, bro, I get hit up by people constantly that are like, dude, I'm unhappy. I want to change.
Why do you think the fear exists though?
I think a big part of it is we have just been conditioned to our lives should look like this, right? Like, dude, how many times are you asked what you want to be when you grow up? We're asking 5-year-olds what you want to be when you're fucking 25 years old, right? It's ridiculous. I feel like we built these lives where you go to school and then you either go to college or you go right into the workforce or the military. Like we have a couple different options, right?
Yeah.
But then after that, you go into the workforce, you give your 30 years, and then you retire. And bro, that's fucking making everybody miserable motherfuckers. And enough people are starting to wake up and be like, dude, I want to break free of this. But breaking free of that is going to involve having to take some massive fucking leaps that are super uncomfortable, right? Painful.
We lack pain tolerance.
Yeah, dude.
All around, dude. All around.
And maybe we've always been like this because like you always look at the previous generations like, oh, those guys were hard as woodpecker lips and we're a bunch of pussies now. Maybe it's always been like this. I don't know, you know?
I would say that that's a fair statement, and I wouldn't discredit that or take too much away from that. I do believe, and every generation is different when you're in it, but the things that I have seen employing a younger workforce or being involved in other companies. Let's do other companies. Other companies with, when I was, cutting my teeth and seeing those types of things, I think are a bit more unprecedented. And older mentors of mine will absolutely agree with me who still hire into that workforce space. I will tell you there's a vast difference from personal experience of individuals over the age of 40 and below the age of 40 and then below the age of like 20 and 25.
Yeah.
But I will also tell you that I don't believe this is from personal experience. Those pockets only exist in certain parts of the country. So if you go to Idaho, okay, I was looking at, I'm looking at buying a ranch, like a ranch in Idaho. And I'd never been to Idaho. Okay. I live in, Tampa, Florida, which is the last couple of years they were joking around. It's like the new New York City, New Jersey. Like everybody's from, the city it's ridiculous at this point, like really overpopulated. And the mentality there versus when you go to somewhere in like Northern Idaho, where it's salt of the earth individuals, it's young people working those service positions, like how it like used to be. Yeah. Those places still exist. And like, it's real and it's awesome there. And those things, they still exist. It's kind of almost compartmentalized, but I believe it's like spreading.
Yeah.
I don't know how we go that far, but it is what it is.
No, it's interesting, man, to think about. But I also want to try and stay grounded and be like, it's very easy to think like, oh, fucking all these kids are fucking pussies and they don't know how to work and shit. And it's like, maybe that's true. Or maybe maybe every man who is 42 looking at the younger generation feels this way.
So you're right. And I think the difference is where now we bring you and I's opinion both together is you're absolutely right. The previous generation will always think the next generation sucks.
And
but it's a sliding scale down the line, because in no way, shape, or form is a 25-year-old now the same 25-year-old from 1920.
Well, and bro, like I've talked about on the show a lot. When this topic comes up, it's like, it's not just the fact that like, oh, the greatest generation, like they fought in World War II and then they came home and worked in the factories and shit. The fucking data is out there. Like testosterone's at what, fucking 25% of what it used to be.
Too small of a percentage point of what it used to be. I was having this conversation with a endocrinologist at one of our docs in Tampa that we're using to do right in the middle of, we're currently in the middle of a full-blown pharmaceutical clinical study. And then we're also doing specific targeted areas around the country in physician closed studies as well, where they test their own patients. And we put it all together in a fun little doc and all that kind of stuff. And we were just talking about that. I made a joke about the study, not a joke, but we brought it up in a meeting of the study that recently came out about men in their 20s being basically the same testosterone and hormone levels as a guy who was 67-year-old in the year 2000, which is huge. And he's like, bro, if you only saw the data from somebody in the 1930s or 40s, we are a different species.
Fuck.
It's legit. But yep. And there's actually a study
on that.
There's no theory. I mean, there's I guess you can call it a theory if you want. No, but there's a lot of data. You had a metabolic Mike on your show the other day. I mean, he explains it perfectly about endocrine disruptors and hormone disruptors. I mean, we live in a society, in a world that literally is designed to basically destroy who we are, like internally. Yeah. Everything we do. The clothes we're wearing right now.
Yeah.
I mean, can completely There was a study done, dude. This is where the emails come in. But there was a study done where they made men wear 100% polyester underpants, as they say in Germany. From, I don't know if that's true or not, but they did a study where they made men wear 100% polyester underwear for a certain amount of time. 100% sterile, every single one of them.
Whoa.
There's another study that's very aggressive, and I don't
permanently or just like for a period of time?
I'm not going to answer that because I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't know, and I don't want to spout information that I don't know. There's another study. Now, this is a theory, but if you follow the mathematics of hormonal decline, men will be enabled to reproduce by 2045.
Bro, we got a fucking front seat to a wild fucking ride.
You're talking to a man of faith. Believe me, dude. We got a ways to. You had no idea what's coming next, bro. It's gonna get wild. But
it's all good though too. You know what I'm saying?
It actually is. Sadly, and not sadly, but it's scary for some people. But there's a really good thing that happens when people are pushed to the brink. And I know that I've never done 1 second in human battle. Okay, so I'm not some like cool war guy. I don't watch war documentaries all day. Like I'm not, the tough guy stuff. I'm not, dude. Okay. But there is something, I have had enough battle done psychologically with human beings to know something very powerful happens when you push human beings to the brink and you draw a line in the sand. Yes, dude. That is the best time in human history. And I was having that conversation with someone today about drawing a line in the sand. There's no better time to be alive. You have to have that line in the sand because that is when you know who's who. Yeah. Everybody likes to talk about the 50s. And the 50s were probably really cool, man. But you know what the 50s didn't have that we have now? They didn't have no line in the sand. Yeah. Everything was hunky-dory and everything was in Pleasantville. Like, how do you know who's there for you or who's going to turn on you? Yeah. When you throw a line in the sand or bullets start flying or stuff like, food starts coming up. I don't want to go into an old doomsday thing, but like if food starts showing up a little less and less and less, that line goes in the sand. You know exactly who you're dealing with. Well, and there's something very good about that. Yeah. And you've heard me say it on the show all the time then if you're an avid listener, but like I've listened to a few episodes. Hey, listen, if the world goes to shit, good. Like that exactly what you just said, man. Yep. Like pushing human beings to the brink is going to bring out the best versions of ourselves. Our relationships are going to be stronger. We're going to have a more meaningful existence. I agree. Good. Or if we can turn this ship around and America continues to be the fairy tale that it is, we get to grow our businesses and buy boats and hang out with our kids. Good too. There might be plenty of time for that. We have no idea how fast this is going to happen. Like, bro, whatever happens is good. It's like the Jocko fucking video, right? Like, have you seen that one? Maybe. It's literally called Good. Okay. And that's what he says. Like, no matter what happens to you that most people would perceive as either good or bad, no, fuck that. It's good. Okay, so I completely agree with that. You can turn anything into a good thing. If the zombie apocalypse hits, good. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I just hope it doesn't hit this weekend because I'm very far from my kids. Oh, yeah. But, well. And you know what's crazy is I actually think about that now. It's like, dude, I travel a lot. I think society is held together by a fucking thread, bro. And if that thread snaps when I'm in New Orleans, fuck it, there's a little bit of anxiety around that. Fair. Fair. But there's also something to be said. And this is something I talk to my priest about actually quite often. And that is, you can't live in despair either. No, of course not. And I don't, you can't live in a place where it's always like doom and gloom and everything. 100%. Because no matter whether it happens or not, guess what? It happened in your own head. So you're living through it anyway. So why do that? If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Don't not be prepared. That's what I was going to say. I think you need to think about these things to a point. Yeah. From a standpoint of preparedness. 100%. But never let it push you to a point of where you're fearful, right? Yeah. And so I literally think about these things. Like me and my wife like to go to Mexico, once or twice a year. And it's like, okay, at what point would that not make sense to go down there? Like what are some societal indicators? So that is something that where we are now going to say, you know what? Our annual trip to Mexico doesn't make sense this year because of X, Y, and Z, right? And so at the end of the day, it's more of like a preparedness approach to this stuff. I totally understand. Because, bro, I don't say this to be fucking like tough guy, but I don't
I honestly think living in Ramadi for 2 years is like worked the emotion of fear out of me.
Yeah.
Like I just don't feel afraid. Even when really fucked up things are happening, it's like that's not where my brain goes to. My brain goes to, how do we fucking solve this problem?
I understand.
You know what I'm saying?
That's why you're experiencing the success that you are with business, because like everything in life is so similar, right? Whether it's war or business or whatever, like the fear can incapacitate you.
Yeah.
So if you operate from a sense of fear in business and you're building a business, goodbye.
Yeah.
Like goodbye. You can't do it, because you won't make the appropriate decisions. You will make bad decisions. When you are scared and you are fearful, I teach this to sales reps. If you are scared, if you are fearful, do not pick up the phone. Uh-huh. Do not call that doctor. Do not do that, dude, because every human being can smell. You can smell every predator.
Dude.
Every predator can smell fear. And
we're fucking predators, regardless
100%.
Regardless of what
there's
vegans
always
tell you.
a way down the food chain, dude.
Yeah.
And if you're fearful, you should be fearful, because you're headed to a place of failure. Now,
perfect segue.
Yeah.
I want to hear about your failure.
Oh yeah, sure. Let's talk about that. So anyway, this big fitness thing happened or whatever, and it was like the story of my life, and that's what got my ball moving, and that's what I wanted to do, and everything outside of that stopped. Meaning, that was what I was sure that's what I was going to do, like fitness, nutrition, training. That was my life. And like, I got a lot of flack for that too. Like,
bro, you get a lot of flack for anything.
Dude, my father once told me, he took me to dinner and he's like, man, this is the same guy that likes to like take credit for like the life now. Right. Yeah. Like, and it's always these dudes.
You see what my son's doing? Yeah.
But when I got my first billboard, when I got my first billboard, he's like sharing it all over the place. I'm like, dude, this is the same guy who literally sat me down at dinner one night and goes, he bought me dinner because I was broke. And he goes, man, when are you going to give up on this dream thing, dude? He's like, can't you just go get a job like everybody else? And I got up and I just walked down the street. Yeah. No car, no nothing. And I was like, dude, and I was out of there.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, this is, anyway. And I was like, but none of that stuff ever like really fueled me, like I'm going to prove these people wrong. I just didn't care.
Yeah.
Like I was like, let's rock and roll. And so that really created my love of fitness and stuff. That position didn't work out. That was in Michigan. And dude, I was in a Michigan winter, and basically, I had proposed to him a couple different ways that I wanted to scale the business. I wanted to be involved, and I had no experience, so I don't blame him, but I was trying, dude. And
he just wasn't comfortable.
He wasn't into it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I got to move on then.
Yeah, of course. Because, you got to do you.
I did $500 a month for a while. It's pretty tough. And so I decided to move back to Florida. And basically, I needed money, so I went back to serving tables. And on the second day of serving tables, I met a guy who sat down at a table, and he owned a gym. And I was just chatting him up because I was a server. I was serving sushi at the time, and that was a huge. That was a big step for me to have to like go back to like serving tables and stuff, because it sucks, dude. I mean, but I think everybody should have to serve tables throughout their life because it teaches you some stuff, dude.
Well, bro, so I got hired as a dishwasher one time.
Oh man, then you have the line cooks on you, and the servers on you. Dude.
So one day they're like, "Hey, grab this pitcher and go out on the floor because we need you to fill up everyone's water." And I was like, what the fuck, dude? I don't interact with people.
Yeah.
I want to hide in the dungeon and just fucking get paid to fucking clean these dishes. I hated it, bro.
I actually always hated serving, dude. But it was quick, fast money, and I was good at it.
Yeah.
So I decided, I was like, man, I got to do this. Like I have to do something, and that's what I know. So I went back to that second day and met this guy at a gym, and I was like, hey, I want a job. And he's like, come down tomorrow. We'll talk. And I went in, I did the same thing. I was like, hey, I don't know if you're hiring or not. I want to be here.
I'll do what you need.
I'll scrub your barbells. I'll clean your toilets. I'll do your garbage. And that's exactly what I did. And I was scrubbing barbells and cleaning toilets. And one thing leads to another. And within 6 months, I was, running the place. And I got to enact some of my plans, and they did very well. And in that process, I had met it was in a good area. It was in a good affluent area. And I was introduced to quite a few different individuals who, one of them became my mentor. Some of them helped me through taught me a lot of things, very successful individuals. And it didn't work out at that gym. the owner of that gym and I had some discrepancies, and I went out on my own, did my own thing. And during that process, I had always been kind of creating my own idea of what I wanted to do outside of that space, my own methodology, my own fitness space that was scalable, that I could like really blow up. So there was an individual there who I was training as like a personal trainer, and she was like, I'm interested. I mean, she was exiting a venture of hers that she had done well at, and she's like, I'm interested. So I was like, okay.
So she wanted to be an investor in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she's like, so actually, one step back. I was going to do this, and I had an investor team of a bunch of guys like from the gym who all wanted a part of it, right? And all like little piece, like everyone was going to give a little bit, and they believed in me, dude. Like that's the one thing the fitness world always gave me. Like it gave me something I never had in life. People believed in me and like gave me a shot, and it, I ran with it. So she approached, and she's like, "Get rid of all them. I want to do it. Let's do this, and we're going to do it big." And I didn't know any better, so I was like, yeah, dude, let's go. Like, yeah, let's rock and roll. So I spent like the next year literally just blowing up, the complete business plan, the perform. I mean, drawing out every little intricate thing of the programming, and even, to scale models, hand drawing every piece of equipment in every space and how to make it scalable, because the purpose of the business was not just to have a gym. The purpose of the business was to have, 100 locations in however many years, and to take on the big way, the big deals, the orange guys, if you will, and all those, the F45s of the world and stuff. This was way before F45, but that was the purpose, is to build a group fitness facility that was perfectly scalable. Everything was able to be multiplied. Everything was a math equation. And that's how I learned all this stuff. And we built a gym, dude. I mean, I don't have a degree. I make this joke all the time. Like, I barely graduated high school, dude. I can barely read or write, let alone spell my own name.
Yeah.
Man, I got my business partner now will say, man, you got an MBA faster than anybody who would ever pay for Harvard Business School would ever get. And you got more. I got thrown into this project from a ground up construction project of this gym, from the ground up, with every problem that the city could throw at me. Like, it's like they didn't want it to happen, but every code violation, every water pump violation, every like not enough parking lot space. I mean, I learned everything. I would go and sit.
Bro, we could do a whole show on that.
Oh, dude.
Because as someone that's built a couple gyms, yeah, bro.
I would sit in the water, because I couldn't get a building permit unless the water department would sign off on it. And the water worked fine. But all of a sudden, when a new tenant moved in, they're like, it's going to be $50,000 because you need a 3-inch valve instead of a 2 3/4 valve.
Yeah.
And I was like,
bro.
I was like, okay, I guess.
And bro, that's what it all comes down to, is money.
Oh, dude.
They just want your fucking money, dude.
I mean, like, we're
sitting in Lappin's Jiu-Jitsu Academy recording as we speak, because we're down here for the Guns and Geese weekend. And his final inspection, they weren't going to allow him to open because he doesn't have a wheelchair ramp onto the mats.
Yeah, so everything has to be.
He goes, I've trained plenty of disabled people. I have a friend that's a fucking triple amputee that trains jiu-jitsu. I understand how disabled people train jiu-jitsu. And you know how they don't do it? With their wheelchair. All right?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't fucking matter. And so I believe they had to make a little fucking ramp.
If the gradient, if the degree and grade of your front step is off by half a percent of a degree, it's not ADA compliant.
Bro,
there are lawyers. Think of how slimy. There are lawyers that will go around and test. Like, can they spin a wheelchair in your bath? I'm giving away too many secrets here, but can they spin a wheelchair in your bathroom? Is the gradient okay on your parking lot? Like, it's intense. And like,
God, dude, fuck it. Come to my gym with that bullshit.
Oh, dude.
Fucking kill you. Dude, they made Lappin lower his mirrors 1/4 of an inch.
I know.
I've
lived this life.
They were 1/4 of an inch out of compliance. And it's like, bitch, if you think I'm going to fucking pull this mirror off the wall and move it down 1/4 of an inch just to appease you, I'm going to fucking chop your head off.
Got to justify paychecks.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that fucking crazy, dude?
You're paying for it.
Yeah, I know. Fuck, dude.
So yeah, I got thrown into this whole program. We got prime real estate. That was a whole other thing. I would sit my job literally at that point was sitting in the water department being like, and I would go like this. I'd be like, dude, I am not leaving until you guys give me an answer. And they eventually would come around because once they realized like this guy's not going to leave.
Yeah.
And I did that every day until I got an answer. But it was everything, dude. It was from parking lots to, I mean, it was a disaster. But anywho, so a full construction project, we do all this. We built out the gym in a way that, I mean, everything was scalable. Everything could be reprinted. I have all the vendors for everything. You could just copy and paste, right? The program was copy and paste. It was engaging. It was a phenomenal program. I still think it would work to this day. A lot of people do. It was a phenomenal deal. The issue was, and this is what I needed to learn because I didn't know any better. And it was my own ego that put me here, which is instead of building your business from the ground up, like when I'm saying from business from a revenue standpoint and membership and doing all this, we weren't going to do that. We were better than that. We got to go balls to the wall. My front counter hire personal designers. We got to hire lighting consultants from the Ukraine. We got to put, we laugh about this to this day, $2,000 toilets in each bathroom. We have to do, it had to be this special tile all the way up the wall through all these bathrooms. The front counter was 11 grand. The lighting was 14 grand. And it was all of this crazy stuff. And I will tell you, it was beautiful. It was awesome.
I bet.
It was so dope.
It was also not sustainable, it sounds like.
Dude. Zero. And once you run out of cash, it's over.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was a partnership. And, I learned a lot.
So did you ever get it up off the ground and running?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got to be careful here, just legally speaking.
Bro,
but
whatever.
So it was
you can tell me to fuck off and we can move on.
Not at all. No, there's a tactful way to do this. But anybody, I mean, somebody's probably listening that's been in my shoes and been like, you don't,
of course, you
got to be respectful at the same point. We built the business. We were off and running. We opened, we had a big grand opening party. We spent $5,000, which was not, on an opening party, like sent out invites to the who's who and all this stuff that literally doesn't matter. Right. We had to be this cool big thing in the best part of town.
You're playing big shot before you're a big shot.
But we're not a big shot.
That's what I'm saying.
That's where people go wrong.
Yeah.
That's where I went wrong. I'm very comfortable admitting that is, I wanted to be the big shot and I was so obsessed with people knowing who I was and my name and my face. And that was it, man. We did that. We spent all this cash. And my other half was in the same boat. We were doing the same thing, right? So there was no brains behind the operation being like, what are you guys doing? In fact, my business partner now, who was a mentor then, was like, what are you guys doing? He's like, what are you guys doing? The partnership imploded. The partnership imploded. We had very different agreements. I also was a minority shareholder in that. I basically sold off my idea, for lack of a better term, and was diluted to a very small percentage. So I had when it really came down to it, I had no real voice. And when I realized that, and when, the teams would come in that I couldn't afford, that they could, and pushing me down, eventually, literally, legally.
So did you end up just kind of getting squeezed out, or did it implode?
That was what was going to happen.
I see.
And
you saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah, I knew enough that it was no longer a venture I could save.
Yeah.
It was no longer a venture that had any of me in it anymore. And that's not why I was doing it. And I saw the writing on the wall that if it didn't happen now, somebody was going to do it. Even if it was super successful, this was going to happen to me eventually anyway. Right.
You just weren't a big enough. You weren't a big enough player.
Yeah. And I for the, there was all these consultants that were coming in and I was forced to go to these weird meetings. And I was being one of the meetings, I was I was set up in so many ways. I had to go all these trainings and weird stuff, dude, this corpo type thing. And what happened was all those meetings I was going was they were being used against me to basically figure out a way to dilute me, but to keep me working 12 hours a day. Because I was working. I was there. I wasn't partying. That was long gone because I was 5 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Yeah. You were on the grind.
Trying to, no money. I sell all my furniture. The only thing I did pay was my car payment. But that was it. I had to get rid of everything. And yes, eventually it came to a point in one of the meetings I realized sometimes it just ain't going to work. And I got up from a meeting. I didn't say a word. In that meeting. I walked outside, called my attorney, and never walked back in again.
Said I want out.
And I called.
How do I get out?
Well, and you can have it.
Yeah.
You can have all of it. It's all yours. You want it? Knock yourself out. I'll do this again.
Yeah.
I'll do it again and I'll do it better. You can have it. And
well, think about it though. I mean, it's like we fucking said an hour ago. It's like you learn more from your failures than your successes,
man, I
right?
learned so much from that experience. If that never happened to me, I can guarantee you we would not be sitting here right now. And the company that we're talking about or we're involved with would ever be doing what it's doing.
Yeah.
And I actually I love that story, man. I learned a lot, dude. I learned a lot, everything from construction to permitting to city to implementation to writing, SOPs to, every little thing could go. And then, sometimes things don't work out.
How long was the gym open before you stepped away?
Oh man, maybe 6 months.
Okay.
It was like a 2.5 year project because it got delayed so long, dude.
Bro, tell me about it.
So it got delayed so long that we were open like 6 months. And by that time, most of the operating capital had been burned for one or, whether it was an agreeable reason or not. And, we were in a bad spot. We were burning tens of thousands a month. It was intense.
And bro, that's one thing that I think about very often when, I'm trying to get my new facility built and they're like, well, we need to have a wetlands specialist come out and look for buttercups.
Make sure you're not stepping on a squirrel's tail or something like that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, okay. Well,
this is a protected squirrel habitat. I'm sure,
When can they come out here? Well, we don't have anyone available for, I think, 8 weeks, shit like that. It's like, you're used to the government. Okay. An entrepreneur that is putting money into a new project can't just sit on his hands for 8 weeks. Well, you wait to assign a buttercup specialist to walk out into my field. And then when they finally come out, they're like, okay, yep, looks good. Or, you know what I mean? It's just, you can tell, or I've had people approve things that I've been waiting on. And I was like, the engineer never fucking came out to my property because I was here all day.
Yeah.
Oh, well, he ended up doing his assessment via Google Earth. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? You wonder why people go postal, bro.
The system is 1,000% built against you and against young entrepreneurs. Not that, we are young entrepreneurs as much anymore, but the system is built against us.
Well,
I'm built against
I might not be young in age, but I'm a young entrepreneur. You know what I mean?
Yes. The system is not built to, no matter what you hear and no matter what programs there are, I can promise you the system is not built for new ventures.
Yeah. And I wonder if it, put your tinfoil hat on. Is that by design or is that just because the system is just being ran in an absolute incompetent fucking manner?
So I will say, please, I will say this, a couple things. One, I don't believe that the system is purposely run incompetent. Okay. These people are not stupid.
Well, no, that's the thing. But they've also...
You got to think about it this way. And this is what I'll say, and you can run with it however you like. Who controls and creates policy? Because it ain't politicians. So who pays for the creation of policies, of protocol, etc.? Those people are who would be in charge.
Elaborate.
So larger businesses are established, globo, massive corporations are in charge of lobbying and policy creation.
Yeah. So why would they ever want new up and comers that could potentially years down the road be
disruption?
Yeah.
No,
I see that.
And
dude.
To be fair, this is a capitalist environment and this goes both ways where it's, you want to play, the game, you got to play the game. It is what it is. You can succeed.
Yeah.
You can succeed. One of the things that I learned, and I tell people that get into sales now or are starting businesses now, not that I have some mastermind incubating thing because I don't do any of that stuff, but just like we're talking right now, is you can succeed. What separates those who are successful from those who are not is you have to be so good that you are able to out-earn all of the problems, if that makes sense. You have to be so good and your product has to be so good and work so well that you're able to succeed in spite of everything being against you.
Yeah.
And that's internally as well. Because when you start, you don't know what policies are going to work well for your business. You don't know what what individual or personality is going to thrive in the environment you create. That's the real hard thing to do is individuals and growing them and who's going to fit in your business, because labor and payroll is expensive, and learning who's going to fit in your business and who's going to jive with you is a very expensive process, because most people aren't actually fruitful within the business when they come on for like a year. So you got to float insurance, healthcare, payroll for a year on someone who might not actually produce for you. It's a very small percentage of individuals who produce right up front.
Yeah.
So you have to be, so I'm not saying like it's like this massive conspiracy, which it may be, who knows, to create a policy that doesn't serve, younger, smaller businesses. I mean, I don't see anything that doesn't say that's not happening. But
and a big part of me just wonders if it's, when the majority of, like, I look at my area, I mean, there's fucking massive construction projects going on, where they're building these giant strip malls, or they're building these neighborhoods with 100 houses at a time and shit. And then you got me over in the corner. It's like, dude, I'm just trying to build a 3,000 square foot. I'm just trying to put 3,000
square feet up, dude. Lay a slab and throw some walls up.
And I think they're used to like all of these heavy hitters in the industries that have to go to the county permitting offices and apply for this and have an engineer come out and do all this stuff. And bro, there's actually middlemen that you can pay to deal with all the engineering shit.
You can pay for consultants, and you can pay for liaisons, if you will.
Yeah, we ended up doing it this time. Yeah. And bro, it was, I think we spent $7,000 on this engineer to help us push the project to the county, and they did everything in a weekend.
I know. It's almost physically painful.
They haven't even had our fucking information for 48 hours, and they already have the packet done and submitted to the county. I said, how the fuck could that be $7,000? This is why it's $7,000, because it's all who you know, and they're buddies, and they work together, and all, they're used to these companies or these like massive fucking like they're building track homes or whatever, and they're putting 100 of them up. Hey, dude, pay this guy $7,000 and he'll grease the skids, and we'll get all your paperwork in. And that's how the system starts to run. And then for normal people to find success, you got to kind of jump into that system. And it's like, dude, $7,000 for me was a massive fucking hit. For someone putting up a strip mall, it's probably, they don't even notice it.
Or even just from a like a personal perspective, or I'm trying to find the right word, but like not being able to grasp or want to think that like I don't want to just give somebody like money, that's against my ethics. Excuse me, that's the word I was looking for. Like ethically, that's something that I struggle with. Is like, I'm just gonna grease this dude. That's tough.
Bro, and I can tell you, because this is our second time going through this, because this is our second facility that we built, is that I made a conscious effort. Because, dude, I was like you were saying, I was fighting with the county every fucking day for months and months and months. And this time I told Jenny, I said, I think I'm more comfortable just giving the money and just fucking making it happen.
Pick your battles.
You know what I'm saying? And this one, it did. It went exponentially smoother using the right people. And that's what the system's used to. So when we were asking, like, is it corruption or is it a conspiracy? I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to fucking money. And,
well, I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I agree. Whether it's, and I'm not saying it is, I'm not saying it isn't. It's really neither here nor there, whether it is or it's not. It's the way that it works. And you play the cards that you're dealt.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're dealt an awful hand, but you gotta play it like it's four of a kind.
And bro, like, and you know me, I want to go fucking postal and go down to the county fucking permitting office with a hammer and start smashing people's faces. But then
waiting outside. Yeah, and it's like
okay. But then I know where that leads. That leads to me either dead or in a cage.
It ends up at the end of the project.
Okay. So that's not my end goal. All right. So as much as I hate to admit this, because it almost makes me feel like a bitch sometimes, it's like, man, we have to play the game under the rules set that society is operating under. You know, it's just like a fucking MMA fight or a jiu-jitsu match. It's like, I can't go out there and poke the guy in the eye.
You can't stab him.
Yeah, so I'm saying we agree that these are the rules. of fucking combat.
And you knew that walking into it.
And so it's like when you're trying to build a new project or start a business or something, I mean, fuck, dude. There's so many little things like getting your EIN and getting recognized federally as a business, getting recognized from the state as a business, and filing all these different things. And it's like, sometimes it feels fucking daunting because it's just everybody wants money. But until you take the time and then obviously like give the resources to make all the little pieces happen, you'll never be viable, you know?
And it's gonna, you know, if you do want to succeed to a point where you can take that breath of fresh air, like we talked about, you do have to play the game. It is what it is in this country.
And my dad used to tell me, speaking of my dad being a hard ass, I did get some good mentorship from him because he used to say to me, bro, because he was a businessman too. And he built a lot of fucking like pretty big businesses. And he used to say, he's like, bro, remember, there's a difference between sucking someone's dick and playing the game. And I'm like, okay.
Okay.
And now it kind of makes sense, right? Because there's plenty of people I want to be like, get the fuck off my property. I'll kill you. You know?
There's a book that I read called, I believe it's called 48 Laws of Power. It's a big one. And it's a
lot of laws.
Yeah, I think it's like 1,000 or 2,000 pages. It was hard to pick up, but I knew like I wanted to complete it.
Yeah.
It's a big orange book. If you see it, I actually highly recommend it. I learned a lot from that book. And what it does is, but you got to finish it. You got to finish it.
Fuck,
what it
that
does,
take me a year, bro.
I think it took me like 3 months.
Okay.
I think it did. This is before children.
Yeah.
Before children, like reading like was that's a whole nother like story or whatever but anyway,
bro, I'll tell you that. I mean, and I've gotten into reading more, I would say, over the last 2 years. And bro, it is across the board. Doesn't matter what people are successful in. Yeah. Successful people read books.
So
that's the truth.
And I fought that so hard. And this is also the guy, every person I'm telling you, like I fought these things. It's like, that was an unsuccessful individual, by the way. I should have done all those things earlier.
Yeah.
The book reading really changed my life. After I lost, I lost everything with that business deal. I went into I had another individual reach out to me because they wanted me to come in and clean up their business it was a national franchise that did sports training, et cetera. That's how I kind of ended up in like the football space and everything. And that business relationship didn't turn out. Through like this journey and stuff, I had like a bit of it was a very serious awakening of my life and fixing a lot of things, because I'm not saying that I was still kind of a dirtbag through everything that I'm talking about right now, through these problems. Like I was still partying and doing stuff. It just wasn't what I was doing before. I mean, it was a very different thing.
Yeah.
But I still wasn't living the most, I was a South Florida hanging out, partying, business guy, trying to, I was faking my way through all these societal, like high society circles that I didn't belong in and all this stuff, which by the way, never leads to a good, a good place. I mean, I've been in some interesting positions and places and stuff, but during that process, like I had a big awakening. And one of the things that changed everything for me, which is the starting point of how the business I'm in now, there's no other term other than skyrocketed from that point, was I got rid of all of my stuff. I had stuff at this point. I sold it or threw it away. And I moved into a high rise in Tampa, and it was a really nice building, but I got rid of everything. I did the mattress on the floor and just books, like just stacks of books and a chair, no TV, no nothing. I was like, I'm going to commit to this, because the business was going, and we had the business and we were doing cool stuff and we were in development, but it ain't what it is now.
Yeah.
And I had that switch, and I literally just stopped everything I was doing in my life that wasn't serving me. Like in my life, there is, as a man of faith, there's one of two ways you can go. You're on a road to salvation or you're on a road to hell.
Mm-hmm.
And if anything that you are doing is serving your road to hell, you immediately need to eliminate it. And that's what I did. And it left me with a mattress on a floor and a ton of books. And so
was that like a moment in time you had that realization?
Yes.
Or, okay. I was going to say, or was that something like a slow awakening?
So I started reading like a little bit.
Yep.
And, but it never like hooked me. Like it did, but it didn't. And
No, but I don't necessarily just mean the reading. I mean, like when you come to the realization, it's like every single thing that I do can either lead to salvation or lead to hell. And I think about that stuff. I don't use those terms necessarily, but it's like, man, is this adding value or is it detracting value?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
There is no gray area.
Yeah.
And I have been criticized a lot throughout my life and career on this, what I'm going to say now. I do not believe in a work-life balance. I do not believe in a gray area. Anything that I am going to do, you're black or you're white. You're on one side of the line or you are not. Mm-hmm. There is no middle ground. If you want to be really successful at anything, whether it's your business, your faith, jiu-jitsu, is anybody going to be a world champion showing up twice a week?
Yeah, fuck no, man.
No.
I have 3 rules for my academy for success. It's consistency, it's fucking effort, and it's attitude.
There's no gray area there.
Yeah.
Right? You're on one side of the line or you're not. And yes, I had a moment where I was still very much a degenerate. I was just a successful degenerate, if you will.
So you're making money now, but you weren't proud of your behavior.
I had a successful business, but there was nothing to be proud of. Okay.
Yep.
And this was shortly after like the COVID thing. Like COVID had happened, and with COVID, I mean, actually that was a huge turning point in our business in a positive. But I was like a lot of guys, drinking a lot, partying, doing drugs, like that. You do whatever you want. I mean, it was crazy, right? So no, I had a very serious moment, and I did. I had a flash of an instant. I asked for it, and it happened, and I've never turned back.
Changed the whole fucking trajectory.
It changed everything, and from that moment on, I made a commitment to God that if He showed me He was real, and He did. Instantly, but it was the first time I asked it and the first time I meant it. Everybody wakes up hungover, like, oh, I'm never going to do this again. I swear, just get me through this day. Or they're in a shitty relationship or something, like, I swear, just help me do this. But they don't mean it.
Yeah.
I meant it for the first time and it happened. I mean, physically happened.
So you fucking knew.
I knew. And I made a commitment that I would change the entire trajectory of my life, business aside.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I left the relationship I was in. I got rid of all my stuff. I got rid of everything that wasn't serving me. TV, bullshit. I threw a mattress on the floor. I had a blanket and I had my books. And I spent months just turning into myself and self-introspection and learning everything I could about what I said I was going to learn about and about business and everything that I was, still failing at, that I wasn't succeeding at, that I wanted to, I learned about. And it was the absolute game changer. We had a successful business. Yeah. We were profitable. We were doing good. We were doing our thing, but it wasn't like it was now. Uh-huh. And that was a huge paradigm shift. And what I have found, and now this is something I've learned from guys who have done this to the extreme, and things that I teach to other friends or guys that are struggling with certain issues that have come to me to help fixing, is actually my wife's grandfather got life in prison. And he went into prison as a huge, big, fat dude. I mean,
when did he get life? When was this?
Oh man,
like a long time ago?
No, yeah, when she was like a kid.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Actually, she may have not even been born yet. I don't remember. Like I wasn't a part of this family.
Yeah, it's old.
So he went to prison, dude, for life. He was never going to get out. Okay, he was never going to get out, and he did get out by the grace of God. And he said, and he told this to my wife, who told it to me, was like, he went into prison an obese murderer, and he came out of prison thin, disciplined, a man of faith, and he attributes it to, when you're in there alone and you have nothing but your own thoughts and all the noise is shut out and you're forced to be in your own brain, that's the only way a man can change.
So you were told this prior to...
I've met him. No, I've met him and stuff like that.
What I'm saying is that what inspired you to basically isolate?
No, I learned this after. No, I learned this after. What I'm saying is I've learned from other men who have changed their lives that maybe I didn't even know about or had, been connected to. That turning in that self-introspection, that turning into yourself. Think of it from like, think of it from a jiu-jitsu perspective, and please don't get mad if I butcher this, but
I get really mad at guests all the time.
Yeah, dude. He's hit me 3 times, I swear. When you're a lot of times in jiu-jitsu, from what I'm learning, so now that I'm like training and stuff like that, a lot of the first reaction to when someone starts to either mount you or pin you or start to pull you into, getting back control is typically you want to, like, when you actually learn, you need to do the opposite and like turn into them, right? It's the same thing in life. You need to learn to turn into yourself. Men need to turn into themselves, into a self-introspection, and be alone with their own thoughts and have to deal with them head on and hear it in your own brain. And that's where the change happens.
Well, bro, how many cultures have like some type of like becoming a man journey where you go walk out in the woods and you can come back in 3 weeks or whatever it is, right?
People do that. They disappear for 40 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not by accident. The cultures all over the world have come to that same realization.
You have to be faced with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And our culture is everything around you is noise.
Yes.
Everything around you is noise. It's, your boss yelling at you. It's the radio. It's the TV. It's society. It's the bars. It's the unhealthy people in your life. It's your parents. It's everybody's got a comment. Everybody's squawking at you. There's always noise. Think about, and you're a little different, but think about maybe before ever, how much time did you spend in silence?
Yeah.
Even when you drive, radio.
Yeah. Hardly any.
That's the first thing I tell people is like, you want to change your life? Learn to drive in silence. Because your brain is designed to fix its own problems. Even like brilliant physicists and mathematicians, when they get stuck in a problem, they stop the problem and they let their subconscious work on it. And that's why it's called a eureka moment. Mm-hmm. Eureka. Your subconscious works on the problem even when you're not.
Dude, it's like we're computers and we have to like defrag everything. You know what I'm saying?
But you do, yeah.
Yeah.
And so like, if you spend that time in silence without everyone yelling at you, your brain will figure out your shit.
Yeah.
Like, we'll figure your problems out. And I still, to this day, every once in a while, I'll turn on some music, or now I have a kid, so the kid's got to have like music when she's screaming. But no, drive in silence.
Bro, you're making me think, man, because like, I don't think I spend hardly any time alone. Like, I try and meditate a little bit here and there, and I've been trying to do that more lately with my vision boards and shit. But by and large, yeah, every waking moment, there's some type of stimulus. Yeah.
Had I never had that, these are all compounding things, right? And that's every human's life. Nobody's, that special. What I'm saying is those are the things that I've really realized, and other individuals who have done way harder time than me have basically related the same thing. Are
you familiar with Wes Watson?
No.
I just read his book, and he did 10 years in the penitentiary and came out and became a multimillionaire within 3 years.
I think
it's fascinating.
Now, okay, so I listen to your show, and I'm crazy too. Let's not ever I won't speak for you, but I'm pretty crazy and into a lot of weird stuff, right? And we're talking about, who's behind this or whatever. Look at our culture and tell me, where is a place of solitude, of peace, of silence in modern mainstream culture in this country, or a lot of other countries for that matter, where you are able to just not have noise, just sound waves beating you constantly? It's everywhere.
Yeah.
You can never actually, unless you specifically do this on your own, like knowingly do it, you don't get any silence.
Yeah.
And you never have the opportunity to let your brain work on the problems that exist in your life, business, whatever that is. You don't ever have any time to do that. And you don't even realize it's happening.
And fuck, I was just listening to someone talk about it. I can't remember if it was on my show or somebody else's. But here's an interesting perspective when it comes to being alone and being silent, right? Out of the gates, like initially, dude, spending some time alone and being in some silence sounds like the greatest thing in the world, right? Oh, I can just detach from everything. But then it becomes a point where if you're in that space for too long, it literally is the worst punishment in the world, right?
Yeah.
That's what we do to fucking like the most dangerous criminals.
Yeah.
Put them in a box and fucking throw away the key. So somewhere in there is the balance, right? We definitely need it. but then it also makes you go fucking nuts at some point.
Yeah,
It's
I
kind
only
of
had a few months of it. I don't know. I didn't do it as cool as some people who spent decades in the pen. But that is, I mean, I have probably said the word "I think" 1,100 times during this episode. But it's kind of the show is thoughts. But I really do believe in the power of silence, and literally, like I said, to this day, one of the most powerful things I still do, I think, is drive with no music. And you still have a little like ambient noise and stuff like that, but it's I'm not the only guy to say that. And it's there's probably a reason why monastic life and monks and in the spiritual space, silence is such a big deal. Right? Today I spent an hour in adoration, and it's silence. And I sat there with my own thoughts and went in and back through my head and my own faults and the things I, am penitent for. It's very powerful.
Man,
it's very powerful.
You're making my wheels turn. I'm wondering if I should go out to my property and just sit out in the woods for,
it couldn't hurt
like
unless a bear gets you, but it couldn't.
Or maybe like,
the bear will teach you that.
I sauna almost every day.
Yeah.
Like instead of, and I'm actually playing like healing frequencies and shit in my sauna, right? But maybe I just go out there and pure silence sometimes.
Listen, man, I'm not a doctor. I don't claim to be. I'm not a philosopher. I'm not a psychiatrist.
Bro, we're all those things.
I just
though.
know.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like every person is, to tell you the truth. Like you've walked a path where you've figured out some things that worked for you and some things that don't work for you, and you're fucking sharing them, I always hate that when people are like, well what is your credentials, or where did you, like, I'm a fucking human being. That's my credentials, motherfucker. Dude,
I literally, part of my job is going around educating doctors, and I'm a kid who never who barely made it through a semester of community. Well, I didn't actually make it through a semester of community college, so I understand. It's all about letters at the end of your name, but it is what it is. I agree. That's very true, and I appreciate that. But
fuck, man, we are already over 2 hours, and we got something coming up here shortly. We have our Guns and Geese in brief. Let's spend. I know you said you didn't want to get into all the science of BioPro and stuff, but bro, I mean, BioPro's been a big part of my show. The feedback that I get from listeners is fucking huge. I've really enjoyed this partnership with you. And I say it all the time. I enjoy the partnership because I believe in the product, and I think you're a fucking cool, genuine person, right?
I appreciate that.
And that's the kind of stuff, those are the kind of fucking partnerships I want, right? For people that haven't tried it or are skeptical or whatever, I guess just kind of talk through like what it is and fucking give people a basic an understanding of what exactly BioPro is.
Okay. I mean, BioPro is a formulation of non-synthetic growth factors. And what people don't know, growth factors is like a term we use, but it's not exactly the most popular term in mainstream or, even the medical space. A lot of doctors still aren't actually very attuned to what a growth factor is. Growth factors are super simple. All they are is protein cytokines. They're just cell signals. Mm-hmm. So your body creates a hormone called human growth hormone. Everybody's got it. We all do. As soon as you finish puberty, it's going to go down. You can't stop it. Doesn't matter how you eat, how you train. It does go down at different rates for different individuals, right? But what a lot of people don't know is before your body ever uses human growth hormone, which is responsible for everything from like metabolism, libido, muscle healing, skin healing, even the differentiation and multiplication of collagen cells in your skin, which is why your skin starts to sag.
Yeah.
Okay. And multiplication and differentiation, all that means is cells multiply.
Well, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, please.
But you told me about not getting burned when you use BioPro. Bro, I can't get sunburned anymore.
I don't get sunburned. And I mean,
sunburned.
You got a video. I'm not exactly the tannest dude.
Bro, I used to get fucking fried.
What's called Pennsylvania Dutch.
And remember how you asked me too? You didn't just come out and say, hey, BioPro will protect you from sunburn.
Yeah.
You said, oh, hey, I see you went to Mexico. Did you get burned? I was like, fuck, man, I didn't, right? And I put it together, and it's true, bro.
Well,
so there you go.
You can say it. I cannot because I
can say it because it's fucking true.
So anyway, everybody's got this hormone. It's a master hormone, and in today's day and age, growth hormone is like extremely overlooked, and it didn't used to be. So growth hormone very regularly was all like, now we live in the day of, you talk about all the time of TRT and testosterone replacement and hormone replacements. That's big business, dude. That is my business, right? And it wasn't too long ago that growth hormone was typically always prescribed with synthetic testosterone replacements and other hormone replacements. And the reason is they're symbiotic. They work together. They have to be, paralleled. I think there's science out there that, very openly shows you have to have an equal amount of the end result of human growth hormone, which are growth factors, symbiotic with or paralleled to testosterone to absorb it properly. Which is why, we post and show blood work and all that stuff of the differences of why that is. It's not a testosterone boosting product. It helps testosterone because you have to have both of them. That's scientifically proven. That's not like that's not marketing. That is what it is. So anyway, back then, and I'm talking like the 90s and stuff, this was a normally prescribed thing. You got growth hormone, you got TRT. This is before it was super popular. Basically, the whole world is now on TRT. But at least the world I live in. Florida is the land. I mean, you have McDonald's, Starbucks, hormone clinic.
What about rub and tug parlors?
Oh, dude, I live in Tampa. Dude, they're everywhere. We got, bro, everywhere. Never mind. I was going to tell. I was going to tell a story.
Back to BioPro. Yeah. We'll save that story till we stop recording.
So anyway, dude, the stories, man. Tampa's a crazy place. Anywho, yes, growth factors. You got me way off target here, but yes, there's hormone clinics all over the place. They were always prescribed together because they're symbiotic and they work together. Over time, growth hormone has been, I wouldn't say demonized, but the medical community has changed. And you have to understand how medicine works. And I don't want to get myself in any trouble here because these guys are, it is what it is. But the American Medical Association and different you talk about this on your show all the time, dude. The board, right?
Yeah.
The medical board will decide what is able to be prescribed and how it's able to be prescribed. You go through this we went through this with COVID, with, a drug that rhymes with, schmiverschmectin, right?
Yeah.
So, they decide what a drug can and cannot be prescribed for in the certain circumstances that it can be prescribed for. Now, over time, human growth hormone cannot be in certain spaces, cannot be prescribed for aesthetic purposes or anti-aging, etc. It was originally created for growth hormone deficiencies in kids and stuff like that, which is a great drug for that. I mean, would you want to grow up and never grow?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's a phenomenal drug for that. But the applications in the medical and anti-aging and performance industry is phenomenal. However, in certain spaces, that's not allowed. So it slowly, this is my theory, I need to state that period, it slowly became not so popular as a prescription. There's many reasons for that. This is my personal theory. I'm not speaking for anybody else, and I'm not a medical doctor, and I'm not giving anybody medical advice. This is a theory of understanding the business. Legal. So you start to have these barriers to use the product, no matter how good or bad it is, okay? And now, all of a sudden, over time, you don't see that drug being prescribed for that anymore. Now, there is a lot of danger to using synthetic hormones. Anytime you inject a synthetic hormone, it doesn't matter what it is. If you are going to take a drug, there will be an adverse side effect, right? If you're going to take a synthetic drug, there is going to be some sort of a side effect. That's why when you take testosterone, you're replacing a hormone, you are going to cause a change in the body, whether that's a spike in estrogens, so you got to take a PCT, like a post-cycle therapy, whether that's suppression of your natural hormone production. There's all different kinds of potential side effects. Growth hormone is no different. You have enlarging of the heart, you have organs that grow, it's growing your muscle tissue. Your organs, your heart, is smooth muscle tissue. It's going to grow other things. So when you abuse that drug or your body has a different effect to it, it can cause nasty stuff. I'm not saying that that's every case. It's not. However, it just hasn't, it's been kind of pulled from the market from a sense of how often it used to be prescribed. Now it's very rarely prescribed.
Yeah.
And because of the restrictions, we're talking of massive increases in cost. Thousands and thousands of dollars. I mean,
bro,
you're talking thousands. This is every month, thousands of bucks, not including doctor visits, needles, blood work. We're talking just the drug, right? Just to get your hands on it, right? So that's where we fit in. And that's been part of the big success of our product. What people don't know about growth hormone is, and this is the part I skipped over, it has to be converted into growth factors before the body uses it.
Mm-hmm.
Your liver converts it into growth factors. The growth factors, remember, they're protein cytokines. They're cell signals. Something has to create a catalyst for change in your body and to signal the cells to do something. That's what a hormone is. It's a chemical catalyst to create a change. That's what growth hormone does. It's a chemical, gets sent to the liver, it's converted into growth factors. All of those different growth factors are cellular signals. They make it to the cells and they trigger them to do something.
Yeah.
If it's collagen, it's going to trigger multiplication of that actual cell. So they multiply. So they're more prevalent. So they're in your body. If you got burned, I mean, you cut yourself with a chainsaw, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was pouring BioPro directly on.
Yeah, that's intense, dude. There's, so yeah, your body doesn't just heal. Right? Like everything has to be triggered, and it's a growth factor that triggers a lot of these processes. So all we have done is we've extracted these growth factors from another mammal, right? They're bioidentical to your body, meaning they are molecularly identical to what your body already produces. They're 100% naturally derived and non-synthetic, so they don't cause the negative side effects. They don't cause negative suppression, and you're not manipulating a hormone. You're just taking the cell signals.
Yeah.
So all you're doing is signaling your cells to go,
boom.
Work.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And because that hormone depletes every year, the end result, growth factors deplete every year. This is why your skin starts to sag. Why when you were 20 and you would get, hammered into a bar, into a crazy party, and you wake up and you'd be like, fine. And you'd be like, it was no big, oh, my back hurts a little bit and you're fine. Dude, your body's a different.
Now it takes 3 days.
100%, if ever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, oh, my nagging injury for how long? 30 years.
Yeah.
So those growth factors in that cellular response declines. Why not just give your body back what it's missing? Like, why not just do that? And that's where we come in. That's what we do.
And I know someone or something that people ask all the time is like, what are the negative side effects? And
So
it's like,
yeah, I mean, we've been doing this I know a lot of people think we're like a new company. Now, remember, we acquired this company. These formulas have been around for a long time. This is the best, most powerful, most effective formula and purest, actually. And it's head and shoulders of where it was. But the basis of the formulas and the growth factors have been around for a while. There is zero science, and number one, that'll show any type of negative side effect for long-term use of non-synthetic growth factors. They don't exist. And secondly, we've been doing this for over a decade, and not once have we had to report an adverse event to an FDA. Now we maintain FDA compliance. We do all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
We've never had to do that. There's nothing to show that can happen. Nor has it happened
Lappin's
yet.
giving us a look saying it's almost time for our Guns and Geese in brief. Wrap this fucking podcast up.
Yeah. The second Lappin does his hair, I take him seriously.
We got 3 minutes. But bro, that's what I wanted.
That's exactly his time. This is his 3 minutes is his song. It's Pony by Genuine is exactly 3 minutes long.
Well, let's do this then, because we got to go. We got Guns and Geese starting here in fucking 10 minutes. I'm sure everybody's out front already.
We got over so many different things. I hope somebody got something from this show of hey,
bro,
man.
I say it all the time. If one person got something, cool. If the rest of you are disappointed, go fuck yourself.
And I'll be honest with you, I very rarely share a lot of this stuff. And my thing going into this, I spoke to my wife before because I knew I would get a little bit deeper because you and I know each other and stuff. Yeah. And she's like, dude, if just one person, somebody might be in your position or
that's every
and
episode.
even if it's just one thing, dude,
that's why I say it all the time.
Just go do and be yourself.
If we sit down and we talk about some business things or some depression things or some struggles you went through, and someone somewhere hears it and is like, fuck, man, that's what I need to do. Maybe someone somewhere here is like, dude, I'm going to start sitting in silence for 1 hour a week, right?
It's the easiest thing to do.
And bro, maybe their life changes for a better trajectory. Fuck, it's worth our time.
I hope so.
So, where can people find you? If people want to ask you questions or connect with you or try the product, give that little fucking spiel and then we got to bounce.
I just told you earlier that I actually do run the social media. This is going to be for good for me or for bad because I don't really tell people that. So, you want to get at me, you want to get at me personally, go right to the BioProtein Tech Instagram.
Okay.
We've been joking about it a couple times, but that's taken on a life of its own.
For sure.
That is the community that exists. Those are the guys that use the product. That's where you're going to get your answers. You want to DM us? We're here to serve, man. I tell guys this all the time, whether it's, there's a shipping issue, they got to change an address or whatever it is. I always tell our staff this too. It's like, I don't care what it costs. If it wasn't for them, none of us have a job.
For sure.
So like they need to know
Yeah.
they're appreciated and they need to be spoken to and you need to get to them right now. Like, I don't care what it is, dude. I don't care if you're going to say $5 on a shipping, get it to them now.
Yeah.
Like, and so if you got something and you need something, just come right to the page, ask us. If I can't answer it or someone on the team can't answer it, I will find you somebody who can.
Fuck yeah. All right, bro. I'll put everything in the show notes, all the direct links so people can just go there, click it, connect with you. But I thank you for fucking spending, we got a fucking slammed busy weekend coming up, but we set aside 2 hours to make this happen. And
I've been waiting a year and a half. For this,
yeah,
Greg.
dude, I'm thankful. And then, let's go fucking do some shooting and grappling.
Rock and roll.